And I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
I tested positive. Let's use this example of me having it as proof that you can get it too. God forbid, the rest of us should be staying at home for our mothers and the people that we love. And to keep us farther apart will ultimately bring us closer together in this cause. We have to do everything we can to avoid being sick. No matter where the virus goes, the way to stop it will always be the same. Our collective conscientious actions. Staying home. Staying home saves lives. I don't want some jackass, loser, fat tire biker get in my face and in my space and talk to me. I don't want to hear it. All right, here is the official re-entry from the basement.
You're a phony! Hey, this guy's a great big phony!
Cleared by CDC, a little sweaty, just worked out.
Oh my.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They are strictly principled anti-fascists.
No organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do not get it twisted and think that, oh, this is something that has never happened before, and then this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
People get mad, and people get sick of it. People are risking COVID to explain to this country that we're fed up.
It's story time with Grace Curley. Tell me the story of how the Dirty Rats podcast happened.
We were sitting in a staff meeting, and I started talking about how I love true crime podcasts. I listen to them all the time on my ride home, and the mailroom manager suddenly said, wait a second, we have true crime. And she started, pointing out all of the books behind us at the staff meeting that were all of Howie's books about Whitey Bulger. Howie wrote it. Howie at first was going to voice it, but it started to sound a little bit too old-time radio, and we wanted something a little bit more modern. And then Taylor read for it, and he had that voice. It just worked. Happy to say it turned out great, and it was really fun. And I was pleasantly surprised at how good it sounded.
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at G_Curley.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They are strictly principled anti-fascists.
No organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do not get it twisted and think that, oh, this is something that has never happened.
She's the Boston Herald's wittiest wordsmith, the last woman standing at the Whiskey Priest. Once a very legitimate magazine that we definitely didn't make up, named her the Michael Jordan of radio. Wait, don't you think we're laying it on a little thick here, Grace?
Just stick to the script.
Oh, okay. Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
Hello, New England. Welcome back to the Grace Curley Show. Thank you, everyone at WXME 98.3 for tuning in today. It's another day of normalcy in the Joe Biden White House, whatever that means. It's also a beautiful day here in Massachusetts, and I'm feeling in a good mood because it would be funnier if it weren't such high stakes, having Joe Biden as president. There are days where I really, I really sigh and I just think to myself, oh God, we are in the worst hands right now. But there are days like this where it would take a heart of stone not to laugh. There's so much news. And a lot of it has to do with Major Biden. Now, I'm not an expert on a lot of things. You guys know that. But I am an expert on the media and their obsession and fawning over the Biden family. That includes canines. They loved the fact that Joe Biden had a dog. They even talked about how he had 2 dogs and maybe a cat was going to be in the White House. I think they might hold off on that now with everything that's going on. If you haven't heard the news, the dog days are over.
The dog days are over. The dog days are done. The dog days are
I didn't even know you had that in there, Jared. We are simpatico today. I did not even know he had that. They're over. They ended pretty quickly. I mean, this Major he's given Scaramucci a run for his money and how many days he was, given the boot. But here's what happened if you missed it. If you pay attention to the mainstream media, nothing happened. They are totally satisfied with 0 answers from the Biden administration. But if you dig a little deeper, you will find out that there was an incident, a biting incident. And I guess Major, who is the 3-year-old dog, German Shepherd, adopted from a Delaware shelter, I believe, he was exhibiting some aggressive behavior in the White House. Now, I'm going to read to you guys exactly what, I believe this is from CNN, what they had to say. Major, who is 3 years old, is the younger of the 2 Biden dogs and has been known to display agitated behavior on multiple occasions, including jumping, barking, and charging at staff security, according to people CNN spoke with about the dog's demeanor at the White House. Now, I have a lot of questions. First of all, where is the investigation into this dog? Because you will remember a few weeks ago, Ted Cruz went on a poorly timed trip to Cancun. It was like a 24-hour trip because he had to circle back right away, fly back. But during that time, people found out that he left his dog Snowflake, his Bichon Frise, at home. And you guys might not realize this, but there are reporters who are strictly on that Bichon Frise beat. That's what they do all day long. So one reporter, I believe he was from New York Magazine, actually went to Ted Cruz's house, saw the Bichon Frise standing in the doorway, was very nervous that the dog was abandoned and left just to starve while the Cruzes were in Cancun. And then after checking in with a security guard there, the guy told him that no, he was actually in charge of watching the dog. But that level of journalistic curiosity, I was kind of blown away by it. I was like, wow, these people, someone put it really well. They said they can really be Woodwards when they want to be, when the moment strikes. They have no interest in Hunter Biden. They have no interest in the Clinton crime family or the scandal-free Obama administration. But damn it, if they see a little white poodle that belongs to Ted Cruz, they're going in. And they will not stop. Because journalism never sleeps and democracy dies in darkness. So I see this story about Major and I'm thinking, Major, this is a big scandal. This is drama. And you guys might remember, this is not Major's first time in the news by any stretch of the imagination. Remember it feels like years ago now because time is moving at a glacier pace, but it feels like it was so long ago. But there was a time when Major Biden was involved in the foot boot story with Joe. Here's how it went down. Joe claims he got out of the shower and he was... Actually, do we have Joe explaining it? You know, I'm not as good of a storyteller as Joe. I'm going to let President Biden take this one away.
How is your foot and what happened?
What happened was I got out of the shower. I got a dog, and anybody who's been around my house knows, little pup dropped a ball in front of me, and for me to grab the ball, and I'm walking through this little alleyway to get to the bedroom, and I had the ball like this, and he ran, and I was joking, running after him to grab his tail, and what happened was that he slid on a throw rug, and I tripped on the rug he slid on. That's what happened.
Oh, man.
Not very exciting story.
I beg to differ. I find that to be an incredibly exciting story. And I'll tell you why. One, it reveals that our president thinks it's a good idea to pull a dog's tail. To pull an animal's tail of any kind is usually a bad idea. You learn that around the age of 5 or 6, sometimes younger. But to pull a dog's tail when you're fresh out of the shower and 78 years old and sopping wet is a whole new level of insanity. So that was Major's first time in the spotlight. And I immediately liked Major.
A beautiful dog. A talented dog.
Sure, was he a Conan? No. You know, did he track down a terrorist and then lead him to detonate his vest? His suicide vest? No. But he was an outlier in the Biden administration because he was being scapegoated by Joe and he wasn't taking it lying down. And I don't know why, Jared. I just liked Major from jump. I liked him. I thought he was tough. I thought he was real. And then this story happens. And then I start thinking about that boot. And all of a sudden, I have all of these questions because the story didn't really add up. Inspector Curley thought there was maybe something amiss. And now, knowing that Major has an agitated demeanor, I can still believe that Joe would have pulled Major's tail. I don't want to part with that part of the story because I just enjoy that too much. But I'm wondering, when he pulled Major's tail, is it possible that he didn't slip on a throw rug? Now, this is all speculation. Let me start. I don't want any suits coming after me right now. I don't want any lawsuits. I'm just hypothetical. All I'm saying is if you pulled a German Shepherd's tail and that German Shepherd has a little bit of a temper, it's possible he might nip you. And if you were to be bitten, and you're the president of the United States, do you put a boot on it to cover it up and just say that you slipped? And then that changes the whole story. Because then I think maybe Joe was actually covering for Major this whole time. And then I have to give Joe a point on that one. There's so much to unpack here. I want to go with Andrew Cuomo's standard and say we need to put Major on a lie detector test. We need to hook him up and we need him under oath. We need answers. We need answers. You don't get an inauguration and then not have to answer the questions. You are the people's pup. There's a reason they have the POFIS of the Oval Office, and it's not so we can be left with all these questions. And I hope my fellow journalists at CNN and MSNBC will really dig into this like they did with the story about Snowflake. We can only hope. We have a very special guest coming up at the end of this hour who's going to give us some more insight into our furry little friend, Major. We'll be back on the other side. This is The Grace Curley Show.
She's never held office, but she paid the whiskey priest's monthly rent once. She's Grace Curley.
As this year of COVID draws to a close, it's time to make sure your portfolio is ready for whatever happens next. Kevin Frisbee and the team at Frisbee & Associates are ready to help you. It's called the 100-100 Challenge. If you have $100,000 saved for retirement and come in for that no-cost, no-obligation consultation, you'll walk out with $100 cash. That's right, $100 just to let Kevin do a portfolio x-ray and see what might be hiding in your current plan. Call now for your no-cost or obligation consultation, and you could walk out with $100 cash. Call 800-989-9100. That's 800-989-9100. Kevin is a true fiduciary. That means by law, he's always working in your best interest. And be sure and catch Kevin on the Howie Carr radio program every Thursday afternoon for a market review and tips on creating the retirement of your dreams. Call Kevin Frisbee today, 800-989-9100. That's 800-989-9100.
Here are some rapid-fire questions with Taylor Cormier. What would you eat for your last meal on Earth?
I'm fond of old favorites, childhood favorites. I'd go with my mother's beef and bean pie, followed by, for dessert, my grandmother's recipe for oatmeal cookies and a big glass of milk.
Where is your favorite place to vacation?
Home. I like being home. I like my house. I know where everything is. Yeah, I just like being home.
Favorite Frank Sinatra song to listen to?
It's called Without a Song, and it's on the album I Remember Tommy. It's a tribute to Tommy Dorsey, and it's a very swinging remake of the original orchestration.
Favorite Frank Sinatra song to sing?
My favorite one to sing is One for My Baby and One for the Road. It's a very sad song, but it's somebody coming to the realization that this is the way life is, and they've come to terms with it, and I think it's something that everybody can connect to. It's a great equalizer for everybody in the room.
This is Charlie Baker.
Hey everybody, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker here.
And these are his friends.
I can't tell you how many times in the past couple of months somebody I know has told me a story.
In the world of Charlie Baker and his friends, the real world of panic porn, political leaders cannot survive without absolute power. And the public can't be expected to blindly follow orders without first hearing a made-up story.
Somebody I know has told me a story about how they got it, and it all goes back every single time to some informal gathering where nobody wore masks, nobody kept their distance, and the virus spread.
It's a confusing, nonsensical, follow-the-science world. But it's the only world they know.
I mean, it's pretty common at this point that that's where a big piece of this is coming from.
And they're the only friends Charlie Baker has.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. hairman.com/Howie.
Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
Hello, New England. Welcome all to the Grace Curley Show. We got a lot to get to today. We're going to take a bite out of this news day, let me tell you. Might be a rough one, but it will be good. If you guys haven't heard the news, Major Biden is making a major splash at the White House. And I just can't get over this story. In fact, I have a guest who's going to join us in the last segment of this hour who's going to help me break down what this all means. And I think a big part of this for me is that I like to hold these journalists, and I use that term very loosely, to a standard. And the standard they have set for K9 stories is Snowflake Cruise. You guys remember Snowflake Cruise? Ted Cruz went on a vacation. He left his Bichon Frise at home. And there was an uproar because a writer from New York Magazine kind of implied that the dog was abandoned. Later in, the 8th paragraph or something, he mentioned that no, there actually was someone there to take care of the dog. But regardless, panic ensued. And they were hunting down stories and details about this dog like you would not believe. It was Watergate on steroids. Forget 2 scoops of ice cream. Forget Stormy Daniels. It was Snowflake Gate. And now a story comes out about Major Biden, another dog in the political sphere. And if you haven't heard, let me break this down for you. According to CNN, Major, who is 3 years old and a German Shepherd, is the younger of the 2 Biden dogs, and he has been known to display agitated behavior on multiple occasions, including jumping, barking, and charging at staff and security. According to the people CNN spoke with about the dog's demeanor at the White House, the older of Biden's German Shepherds, Champ, is approximately 13 and is slowed down physically due to his advanced age. Now, there's stories that he bit a security officer, allegedly. And the White House, in a strange move, is not being as transparent as you might think. And the journalists seem to kind of be okay with it. I want those same men and women who were on that Bichon Frise beat day in and day out, demanding answers, to have that same thirst for the truth when it comes to Major Biden. Because you guys might remember this. This is not Major's first rodeo. He's becoming quite the celebrity. First time around was when Joe Biden was wearing the boot. Because as Joe Biden told a story, and I played this in my first segment for my 98.3 listeners, but we'll play it again for everybody now. There was an incident with the dog that led to Joe Biden's boot. And Joe tells the story, as always, better than I could. So let's hear Joe's explanation.
What happened was I got out of the shower. I got a dog, and anybody who's been around my house knows, dropped a ball in front of me, and for me to grab the ball, and I'm walking through this little alleyway to get to the bedroom, and I grabbed the ball like this, and he ran, and I was joking, running after him to grab his tail, and what happened was that he slid on a throw rug, and I tripped on the rug he slid on. That's what happened.
Oh, man.
Not very exciting story.
Depends who you ask. You ask Grace Curley, that is a very exciting story. Because there's so many elements to it. Why would this 78-year-old man fresh out of the shower decide to grab a dog's tail? It's kind of one of the first things you learn as a young child, along with, like, don't put your hand directly on the oven, or directly on the stovetop, I should say. Also, don't pull animals' tails. That always struck me as odd. But I didn't appreciate the fact that it seemed like Major was being majorly scapegoated and being blamed for this boot situation. But now that we find out he's actually a little bit snippy and he tends to bite people, I'm wondering if that boot was covering up for something else, if you catch my drift. And they've sent the 2 dogs, according to reports, back to Delaware. All of this is to say the dog days are over.
The dog days are over. The dog days are done. The dog days are over. The dog days are done.
Now, I should say, I'm not happy about this. I actually enjoy seeing, I shouldn't say I enjoy seeing the tweets from the office of the president or whatever that thing is. But I don't have an issue with dogs. My parents live next to a couple that has a German Shepherd, and they're great dogs. They really are. If they're well-trained, they're the most lovable, cute dogs ever. And very smart and all that good stuff. But we need more answers. We can't just be satisfied with, oh, the dogs aren't there anymore. Because these are the same people that ran stories like this about Donald Trump. Why is there no first dog in the White House? And what does this say about Donald Trump? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't like to, have someone jumping on him and charging him while he's at the White House, while he's working in the Oval Office. Maybe he finds Mario Kart and German Shepherds to be distracting from running the country. Just throwing that out there. They also at one point ran a story in Newsweek that was titled, "Why Does Trump Hate Dogs?" I don't know if he hates dogs, but he didn't bring 2 dogs into the White House and then send them back to Delaware when they started misbehaving. And the comments beneath the tweets about these dogs. Oh, I was looking last night on Twitter and somebody says, "Oh, poor Major, he's old and he's probably getting confused and he's not used to the situation." And then somebody types in beneath it, "Isn't he the young one?" Well, he's young and he doesn't understand what's happening. He's just a baby. The dog people on Twitter, y'all got to get a grip. If you're a dog person and you're a Joe Biden person, tone it down. But I just think that, and we're going to play a lot of sound from Joe Biden. You probably noticed yesterday he forgot a lot. He was speaking and it just totally went off the rails. It started trending on Twitter. And I'm going to discuss that on the other side. I'll keep the phone lines open, 844-500-4242. I just have to say, if Major didn't do anything wrong, we need to hold him to the same standards that we held Donald Trump to, which is if you didn't do anything wrong and you're not lying, go under oath. Where's the lie detector test? We need answers, and I will not be happy until this is settled. Remember Conan? I'm not trying to say that Major's like Conan here.
A beautiful dog. A talented dog.
But he deserves his time. You know, he deserves his due process. I don't like Dr. Jill just shipping them out or whoever's responsible. And we'll get to all that. We have a lot of good, we have a lot of great Biden sound today. I just talked to Howie and he told me about even more sound that I haven't heard yet. So we'll play all of that. We'll take your calls, 844-500-4242. Normalcy is back in the White House in a major way. This is the Grace Curley Show.
I've been on Balance 7 for 2 weeks now, and I cannot believe my energy. Last weekend, I was feeling so good I did 3 bike rides. Balance 7 is a clear mineral liquid you take 3 times a day to break down the acid in your body. You feel better, and I personally sleep better. It also reduces acid reflux and heartburn. Often I'm asked to try products, and I can be very skeptical of the claims. But with Balance 7, it was all 100% true. With Balance 7, I don't feel my energy starting to flag as the day wears on. By allowing me to sleep better at night, I have more mental clarity during the day. Balance 7 is a highly alkalizing concentrate. That means it reduces the acids that have built up in your body over time. All you do is drink a small shot of the liquid 3 times a day and you will feel the difference. Balance 7 is made of safe, all-natural ingredients. If you suffer from heartburn, acid reflux, or sleep issues, give Balance 7 a try. Order any of the 1-month supply and put in code word Howie. You'll save $10 and get free shipping. That's balance7, the number 7.com. Balance7.com. Code word Howie.
Whether it's global warming, global cooling, or climate change, one thing's for certain, the progressive moonbats can't stop talking about it.
We're talking about cities all over the world, major cities going underwater.
You know, I've spent a lot of time now with these young students, and they're scared. And a lot of young people are even suffering from, they're calling it extinction illness.
So that we can have people here who truly are committed to climate change, believe in climate change as though it's a religion, it's not a science.
A woman whose dreams of motherhood now taste bittersweet because of what I know about our children's future.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
That curing cancer is going to be much more difficult when there's so much climate change and pollutants in the environment, because a lot of cancer is environmentally caused.
Recognizing and acknowledging the link between animal agriculture and climate change is a very bold move, making tonight plant-based.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon, when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
I've seen a lot of Anchor cupcakes in my day. Here are some of the latest network nitwits.
Taney says if I'm elected president, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. Correct me, there already are term limits, so what does he mean?
And what are we hearing in the background? Is that shelling?
No, Katie, Katie, you're actually hearing that from here in Jerusalem, and it's actually fireworks going off right behind me.
We're in our tribes, we're in our corners most of our lives. I think we just heard some gunshots. Should we listen to that for a second, control room? So that's not gunshots? Okay.
Ivanka is not the second lady. She is actually, I don't think she deserves this position. She's actually a senior advisor to the president. So the idea that he would demean her specifically in that way, he shouldn't talk about the first lady that way. We aren't all here to make salads for men. It's disgusting.
I mean, I'm presuming he was talking about Karen Pence when he said second lady.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Not Montana. I'm talking about never mind.
Yeah, no, Chester, I mean, that's Republicans could add to that.
I was getting Montana and North Dakota confused because, I don't know, I just was.
I know he always asks me tough questions, and he always has an edge to them, but I like him anyway.
Now that you're president and you're saying there's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of the pandemic in the next several months, what happened to 2 months ago when you were talking declaratively about I'm going to shut down the virus? When President Trump was imposing travel restrictions in March, specifically on China, then candidate Biden called it xenophobic and fear-mongering. So now President Biden is putting travel restrictions on people coming in from other countries. What word do we use to describe that?
Well, I don't think that's quite a fair articulation.
Why weren't President Biden and all members of the Biden family masked at all times on federal lands last night if he signed an executive order that mandates masks on federal lands at all times?
But he was celebrating an evening.
Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio.
I think it should be who shipped the dogs out, because they're done. They're out of there. Guys, welcome to the Grace Curley Show. We have a lot to go over, including more news about Champ and Biden. This is from the Oval Office account. Champ here to defend my brother. Major does not bite, and he's not progressive. You've all seen him in numerous videos surrounded by media and staff. We are usually sent to Delaware when Mom, Flotus, is not at the White House. She left Monday afternoon for a 2-day trip. Woof! We'll see about that. The White House is being very mum about this. They said they would not describe it further, and both dogs are back in Delaware. So even when it's something as, seemingly benign as a dog story, they can't tell us anything.
I can't believe we've had more press conferences from Major Biden than from Joe Biden.
I know.
48 days into this thing.
Speaking of Joe Biden, I do have to give him the majority of this segment because he is, for as little as we hear from him, he really does deliver every single time. There's no shortage of scary moments. And that's really the point of this, is that when you watch these clips, it would be funny. To me, it's not funny to begin with because I do feel bad for him. I think in a way, this is a little bit of elder abuse. He has no idea what's going on. But all of this chaos would be funnier if it wasn't the United States of America and we didn't feel like the country was, that the stakes are too high, is what I'm saying. And last night when Biden spoke, a clip went viral because he forgot the name of his Secretary of Defense. And it's really a jaw-dropping cut. It's even more startling if you're watching it because you can really see his just confusion on his face. But we will play the cut for you guys now, and then we'll break it down.
Just want to thank you both, and I want to thank the former general. I keep calling him general, but the guy who runs that outfit over there. I want to make sure we thank the secretary for all he's done to try to implement what we've just talked about, and for recommending these two women for promotion. Thank you all. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
All right. First of all, I do appreciate you leaving in the little extra sound at the end because those parts of the sound cuts are important. And something I noticed yesterday is he does this move where when he's finished, he immediately turns behind him and says something to the people. They laugh, I think to kind of ease the awkwardness and make it seem like he's really with it. He's making jokes with us behind the scenes. I don't know what he's actually saying, but he always turns his back to the reporters, looks at who's ever there, and then walks out with them. Kamala Harris, the vice president, has become the newest elbow holder. Like, she kind of trails him out of the room. Well, Dr. Jill is on her vacation, according to the dogs. But there's a few things about that cut. And Jared, please correct me if I'm wrong. When he says the guy in charge of the operation, he is talking about Lloyd Austin, who is the Secretary of Defense, and the operation, or I'm sorry, the outfit. The outfit. That is the Pentagon, correct?
That is, in fact, the Pentagon.
Okay, just trying to keep up. I have to say, I do kind of love the old school terms in which he speaks. Like, I could so picture my grandmother saying that. You know, the guy who runs the outfit over there. It is so old school.
Why, that whiz-bang soda jerk sut over there.
If he wasn't talking about the Secretary of Defense, it would be a little bit more amusing and less frightening. But Kamala walks him out, and they're not playing this anywhere. That's the part of this that I really try to, with conservatives, I try to talk to people every day, you know, people in my family, some of my friends who are conservatives, and kind of get what's frustrating to them or what the sense is. And the sense is, how come we see it on Twitter and we see it on social media, and then Fox doesn't really play it? Like, a lot of these places, they don't have it running 24/7, and they should. Not because it's mean or because it's, you know, cheap entertainment, because the emperor has no clothes, and people deserve to see that. It baffles me that if you turned on Fox News this morning, that wouldn't be the one cut you were seeing over and over again. The President of the United States, the leader of the free world, does not know the name of his Secretary of Defense. And what's even more insane is that even with Trump off of Twitter, which, by the way, I want to break that down a little bit because it's a beautiful thing that Trump's not on Twitter. Because now they always could blame Trump, and they always could, instead of reporting the story, and I'll give you an example, instead of reporting the story that Stormy Daniels lost her legal cases against Trump, they would never report that. But when Trump called Stormy Daniels, which I did not think was right, I do not like making fun of how people look, when he called her horseface, all of a sudden they reported on the story. They tried to circle around the actual story, which was her legal cases did not hold up in court. She had to pay his legal fees. But the only reason they talked about it was because Trump gave them a reason that he was the bad guy in that situation. Now, he's not on Twitter anymore. They can't say, well, Major Biden is in trouble for biting someone, and Trump's reaction is this. They can't do that. So they're really trying to bend themselves into a pretzel. How can they make these stories about Orange Man when they're not, when he's not in charge anymore? And here's how they do it. It's incredible. It will make you tear your hair out. Twitter puts up something that's trending, and you'll notice they don't often include how many people are actually tweeting about it when they want it to trend. They just float it out there. so that it will be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, we say Jared Diglio is trending, and then enough people look at it, and then they start talking about Jared Diglio. You catch my drift? So Tim Apple was trending last night, and here's the description that the Ministry of Truth and Jack Dorsey give to people who are just tuning in. They see that people are talking too much about how stuttering Biden, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say stuttering, but stumbling. I'm sorry, I meant to say stumbling. Please do not come after me. I know he had a stutter as a child. I did not mean that as a derogatory hit at Joe Biden. Stumbling Joe Biden cannot remember the name of his Secretary of Defense. That's the story. That was what really took hold on Twitter. They didn't like that. Jack Dorsey does not like when something negative trends about Joe Biden. And so this is what they put up. Tim Apple, and then the description. President Biden appeared to forget the name of his Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, sparking discussion about the time former President Donald Trump referred to Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, as Tim Apple. Because that's totally the same thing, and that's so relevant right now.
Everybody's always blaming me for everything.
For everything. And what's with the appears? He appears to... We can't even call anything what it is anymore. It reminds me of when you go on Snopes and you go to fact check something, and if it's negative about Trump, if you say, did Trump really kill a bunch of fish by feeding them too much fish food in a koi pond? They'll find a way to make that true. But if it's, did Joe Biden forget the Secretary of Defense's name? You know what they'll write? It's complicated. And then they'll give you like a 10-paragraph description on why you might think he forgot it. But what appears to be happening, wild, completely irresponsible and manipulating, and they're just out of control. They're out of control. And there's more sound. I want to play this one because I don't even know what this is about, but let's play cut 7. We'll try to figure it out as we go together.
Some of it's relatively straightforward work where we're making good progress designing body armor that fits women properly, tailoring combat uniforms for women, creating maternity flight suits, and updating requirements for their hairstyles. And some of it is going to take an intensity of purpose and mission to really change the culture and habits that cause women to leave the military.
Well, I'm not going to try to understand what that's about, but what I will say is, according to Jen Psaki, we're going to get more of that on Thursday, because President Biden is delivering his first primetime address. Do not get this confused with the State of the Union. Do not get this confused with a press conference where he will answer questions. This is just a short speech, which I'm guessing will go all of 5 minutes, because he's gotten significantly worse as time has gone on. And I think that's around, and Jared, you would actually know this more than I would. That seems to be the sweet spot for them right now, is like 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, after that, the programming starts to short out.
Yeah, and then they start going, they start telling him to, come back, come over here. Don't talk to the press. And you can always hear, and I'm going to back the microphone away, but you can always hear the aides in the background going, all right, thank you, bye, thank you. Okay, Peter Ducey, let's go. Okay, out this door, please.
And I'm going to pull a Howie on this one. I want to see him doing this address holding up the newspaper that day, like the 6 o'clock edition of the Washington Post that came out. Just hold it when you're doing your thing. Let me know that this is real.
Right.
And it's not pre-taped.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't think that's unreasonable. Let's actually play. This is Jen Psaki giving us the exciting news that the most transparent president in history will give us a short, pre-written address. And we all have that to look forward to for Thursday night. This is cut 17.
The president will deliver his first primetime address to commemorate the one-year anniversary of the COVID-19 shutdown on Thursday. He will discuss the many sacrifices of the American people have made over the last year and the grave loss communities and families across the country have suffered.
Now, when asked about regular conferences, I talked about this last week. The press isn't digging this. They're starting to figure out that they're getting screwed. And they're starting to go, wait a second, how are we going to even pretend to do our jobs if he won't come out here? And here's the problem. He will come out eventually and do a press conference. He'll talk to ABC Mary and, anyone who's on his list, maybe even the one horse trick pony soldier, Peter Ducey. And then they'll all have a breath of relief because they can write about how, he's so transparent. He took questions, he restored decency. He ushered in normalcy before he went back to Mario Kart. But eventually they're going to figure out that this was all such a bad idea because it's going to hurt the press more than it's hurting even Donald Trump. Donald Trump wanted to be president, don't get me wrong. But the press needed him. He restored their ratings. And Joe Biden is not going to do that, especially if he doesn't show up anywhere and talk. So they keep asking Jen Psaki about, is he going to start doing regular conferences? And she, first of all, had the audacity to say, well, he takes a lot of questions. He's taken about 40 questions. You guys know what those kind of questions are. Those are the kind of questions where when he's out walking Major and Champ, who were meant to be these big distraction pieces for the press, that went the other way, obviously. But they'll say, which one's the older one? And he'll go, this one right here. That's one question. So mark that. Keep track. Those are the questions they consider that the press should be lucky to have. So the press is now asking Jen Psaki over and over again, when are we going to get to talk to this guy? And she does not have an answer. This is cut 8.
You mentioned last week that the president is expected to give a formal press briefing.
Press conference, yep.
Yes, before the end of the month. Mm-hmm. So that is a commitment. In the next few weeks, we will see him and take questions and follow-ups and so forth.
Yeah, he has done about 40 Q&As since he took office, but in terms of a formal press conference, which I understand there's a big focus on, yes, we will have one before the end of the month.
And what does it mean going forward? Will we see more of President Biden, specifically?
More than 40 Q&As in the last month, or?
Where he will be submitted to more extensive questions, follow-ups, the kind of things we're doing today. Will we see him regularly?
I don't know that you'll see him more than 40 times a month, but I'm happy to ask him that question.
Oh, wow. Wow. That is so... That is so phony. That is so deceptive. She knows exactly what kind of questions he answers 40 times a month. Is mint chocolate chip really your favorite flavor? Oh, we're going to talk more about this, but we have a very, very special guest coming up after this, so don't go anywhere. Guys, it's true what they say at Perfect Smiles. Change your smile, change your life. I saw the change with Howie and with the mailroom manager. They both love their smiles. A lot of people walk around every day. They don't smile. They're nervous to, show their teeth. That's not the way to live. It's an easy thing to fix your teeth, especially today. And if you go to Dr. Bruce Houghton, you will not be disappointed. He's amazing. You got to go online, go to perfectsmiles.com, watch their video testimonials. You can take their word for it. Parking is free. The staff is warm and welcoming. And Perfect Smiles is conveniently located in Nashua, New Hampshire, which is becoming more and more appealing as New Hampshire opens up and Massachusetts stays locked down. If you've been wanting to upgrade your look for years, contact them today and look at their video testimonials. Go to perfectsmiles.com. That's perfectsmiles.com. Change your smile, change your life. They're all the nicest people there, and they will treat you like an absolute VIP. You will not regret it. Perfectsmiles.com. We'll be back on the other side with our very special secret guest. I'll be right back. This is The Grace Curley Show.
You're listening to The Grace Curley Show. Joe Biden's plagiarizing prowess proves one thing: he's been stealing all his life.
Why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why am I the first Kinnick in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Glenys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get the university.
No, it's not because they weren't as smart.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent?
It's not because they didn't work as hard.
Or the strength, or the endurance, or the commitment. Of course not.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
Come on, man.
You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I take them twice a day, once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body, and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
What does the mainstream media really think of you? Banjos, please.
Bigots and racists. Credulous, rude, tin-toothed, working class, angry, white.
Aging, angry white guys.
Angry white man.
The angry white old men.
These angry white men.
The angry white vote.
All these angry white people.
Too many of them want to see the people who are begging for change put down.
Racist, bigoted base.
It's white privilege, it's white nationalism, it's anger, it's rage, it's incel.
You tolerate a certain level of racism.
1 in 3 Americans are racist.
The credulous boomer rube demo. Y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling. Even though my
your math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading.
They're too far gone.
Look at them. They're high-fiving each other, and they're going to go back, to the Olive Garden and to the Holiday Inn that they're staying at and the Garden Marriott, and they're going to have some drinks.
Start the afternoon off right.
Now what? Here comes a girl. Here she is. This is just the best part of my day.
It's Grace Curley.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. Get clinically proven blood pressure support with delicious Super Beets heart chews by visiting getsuperbeets.com/Grace. When you buy 2 bags, they'll throw in a third for free. That's getsuperbeets.com/Grace, getsuperbeets.com/Grace. Jared, what is the poll question and what are the results thus far?
What's the weirdest part of the normal Biden presidency so far? The foot-breaking accident, the major biting incident, forgetting his Secretary of Defense, no press conferences, or snow days/lids?
No press conferences.
No press conferences is in the lead at 46%.
Okay, guys, so I promised you a very special guest, and he is here. Dr. Matt is in the building. Well, he's on the phone. Hi, Dr. Matt.
Hi, Grace. How are you?
Good. So here's my question for you. Are you surprised about this story about Major Biden, and is this typical of German Shepherds?
I am not surprised, and I wouldn't say it's typical of German Shepherds. It's typical of all dogs that have a strong drive to protect. Of course, this is a frustrating situation. A lot of people have been in it, not just the Bidens. I've been in it myself with an adopted dog that wanted to protect everybody in the family from anybody else on the planet. So it's a very frustrating situation for them to be put in, and probably sending Major and Champ back to Delaware is probably the right thing.
Do you think that they will try to get another dog in the White House that's a little bit more people-friendly? And if so, Dr. Matt, I think I know the answer to this, but what's the best breed to have around people all the time in that kind of situation?
Well, I think when we sort of say this is a breed personality, the majority of the dogs in that breed have a very similar personality, not all of them. I mean, I've seen very aggressive golden retrievers. I've seen very sweet and loving German shepherds. So there's no way you can say with any certainty. Kind of, buying a dog is a bit like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get. So, especially in a shelter dog, you definitely don't know what you're going to get. So, if they were to say, let's get, a golden retriever or let's get a Labrador, those dogs are much more reliably friendly and accepting of a million different people. I used to say of my own golden retriever, her love's a mile wide and an inch deep. She just loved everybody.
Dr. Matt, thank you so much for joining us and for that insight. Do you have a place people can call you if they have a question about maybe adopting a dog or getting a dog?
Yes, Grace, I do. It's at the Ipswich Animal Hospital. We're at 978-948-8189.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Matt. We'll be back, guys, with Libby Emmons from the Post Millennial. This is the Grace Curley Show. Hotels, vets, and dentists all have purchased multiple units of the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, which is why Eden Pure has done it again. For the first time ever, for our listeners only, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier 3-pack. You'll get 3 units for under $200 and save $200. One for your basement, first floor, and second floor, all in one purchase. With the 3-pack, you can now enjoy clean air everywhere in your house or workplace. Not only does it really work, it works in hours. The Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier is so small and light that you can hold it in your hand and plug it right into the wall. The best part is you don't have to replace any air filters. Other air purifiers can cost up to $600 for just one unit. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word GRACE3 to save $200 for their special 3-pack. That's EdenPure.com, code word GRACE3. The 3-pack is for this week only.
And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and, Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is... Your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
But being factually correct is important.
It's absolutely important.
And if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all 3 chambers of Congress, all 3 chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
President Trump is clearly ethically unfit and intellectually unprepared to be the president of the United States. And I support Chairwoman. In the coming weeks, the House will hold hearings. Congresswoman Harris, Senator Harris. He's our president, and I would rather he not be taking something that has not been approved, especially in his age group and in his, shall we say, weight group, what is morbidly obese, they say. So completely inappropriate in so many ways that it's almost a given. It's like a child who comes in with mud on their pants or something. That's the way it is. They're outside playing. That's what he comes in with doggy doo on his shoes, and everybody who works with him has that on their shoes too. But I only will do that if you tell me that this legislation is worthy of George Kirby's name. This moment of national anguish.
Everyone knows I love coffee and I'm not giving it up. I know that it would keep me up from time to time, but no longer with Balance 7. Balance 7 is a clear mineral liquid that you take 3 times a day to break down the acid in your body. When it does this, you'll feel better, and I sleep better. Often I'm asked to try products and I could be very skeptical on their claims. But with Balance 7, it was all 100% true. With Balance 7, I didn't feel my energy starting to flag as the day wore on, because by sleeping better at night, it also gave me mental clarity during the day. Balance 7 is a highly alkalizing concentrate. That means it reduces the acids that have built up in your body. Balance 7 is also known for reducing acid reflux and heartburn as it did for the mailroom manager. Balance 7 is made of safe, all-natural ingredients. If you suffer from heartburn, acid reflux, or sleep issues, you should give Balance 7 a try. Order the 8-ounce 12-pack supply at balance7.com. Put in code word Howie. You will save $10 and you'll also get free shipping. Balance7.com.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com. And now, 1 minute of Nancy Pelosi.
It is a bill that is much needed for our farmers and ranchers. I think there are only 47 votes against it in the House of Representatives. The American people should know the source of it. Again, we are engaged in the year-end continuing resolution, Homeland Security. I'm not sure. No, I haven't spoken to him since he called the other day, which was a very amicable conversation. Amiable, I guess you would say, not amicable. And I talked to Chuck last night to say, we haven't had an answer. There are other things that are going on that are newsworthy, and I think you'd have more viewers or readers if people address concerns that people have. The list goes on about
Joe Biden's plagiarizing prowess proves one thing: he's been stealing all his life.
Why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why am I the first Kinnick in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Glenys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
No, it's not because they weren't as smart.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent?
It's not because they didn't work as hard.
Or the strength, or the endurance, or the commitment. Of course not.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
Come on, man.
It's story time with Grace Curley. Tell me the story about driving back from the Matthews Brothers remote.
I was driving the mail manager's car, and then she was driving their other car. She had Howie in her car, and I was by myself. And it was a snowstorm, and it was really, really, really bad. Like, I'm talking the worst conditions I've ever had to drive on in my entire life. It was so scary. I was sweating. I don't think I got home till like 3 in the morning. And I was like, I have to come in tomorrow and tell the mail manager I can't do that again. And when I came in and, I kind of built up the courage to say it, and she looked at me and she said, "You can't do that again." I was sweating. My whole back was sweating. I'm never doing that again ever. So now if there's even like a little bit of snow coming, she'll say to me, "Do you want to stay at the hotel? Or do you want to, what should we do? How should we plan for this?"
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
Joe Biden's plagiarizing prowess proves one thing: he's been stealing all his life.
Let us pledge that our generation of Americans will pay any price. We shall pay any price bear any burden, accept any challenge, and meet any hardship, to secure the blessings of prosperity and the promise of opportunity for our children.
to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
But this standard is not a measure of how we can evaluate the condition of our society. It cannot measure the health of our children.
Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our...
She's the Boston Herald's wittiest wordsmith, the last woman standing at the Whiskey Priest. Once a very legitimate magazine that we definitely didn't make up named her the Michael Jordan of radio. Wait, don't you think we're laying it on a little thick here, Grace?
Just stick to the script.
Oh, okay. Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
Hello, New England. Welcome back to the Grace Curley Show. Some breaking news here. A statement has been issued by Buckingham Palace on behalf of Her Majesty the Queen. It is very brief. And here's what it says. The whole family is saddened to learn the full extent of how challenging the last few years have been for Harry and Meghan. The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. While some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. Harry, Meghan, and Archie will always be much-loved family members. And that's where it ends. We'll be talking about this throughout the course of the show, but we have an excellent guest joining us now, Libby Emmons from the Post Millennial and from the Federalist. Thank you very much for being with us, Libby.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Do you want to comment at all on the Royals? Because I led with that in the segment, so if you have anything to say, now's the time.
Oh, my goodness, the Royals. You know, being an American, I speak for a lot of us, it's hard to care about the Royals at all. It just seems so dumb that there could be people who are supposedly better than you because of their bloodline, and we're supposed to give them a whole bunch of tax dollars in order to make them, I don't know, feel better about it and ride around in carriages. I don't even know what they do. I think the whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. I didn't watch the interview. I could care less about the oppression problems of some extremely wealthy, privileged people who buy mansions in California.
Libby, can I just tell you that as someone who did talk about this interview yesterday, you just spoke for the majority of my audience, and I'm sure they feel they feel so vindicated now hearing that. But Libby, a story that I do want to talk about that I think is really going to blow up because it's just another example of COVID hypocrisy, and it's a really bad look for teachers' unions. Tell us about the story now. There's LA teachers who are advising others not to post spring break pics on social media. Can you kind of lay out this story for us?
Yeah, so this was actually a pretty shocking story that I looked at this morning. Fox News reported it locally in Los Angeles. Apparently there is a UTLA, which must be United Teachers Los Angeles, private Facebook group that has about 5,700 members on it. And one teacher, I believe he was identified as a teacher, posted for, maybe he wasn't, I don't know, but posted to remind teachers that as they go on vacation for spring break, they ought not post selfies and pics of themselves lounging by the pool on social media so that they don't make the union look bad, because of course the union is still keeping LA schools closed. They voted on Friday by something like 91% to stay out of schools, to not let kids back into the classroom, to continue teaching remotely, which, as my son will tell you, is total trash. I'll say to him, he sits across the table from me when he does remote, and I'll say, "How's it going? You learning anything?" And he's like, "No, nothing, nothing at all. This is trash."
He's honest, at least. That's good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he is honest. Yeah, so that's basically what happened. The unions are saying don't go back to school because it's unsafe. Teachers are being prioritized for vaccinations. They're going on vacation. You probably saw, I think it was in late fall or something, whenever it was, there was a teacher in Chicago who's actually an executive with the union, went to Puerto Rico, posted selfies, bikini shots on the beach, and was like, "Everybody, stay home. It's not safe to go back to school."
No, and Libby, I'm gonna do an entire segment when I'm done with your interview about all of the examples of this. I mean, you had the teacher from Berkeley who dropped off his daughter or son, I'm not sure which, dropped them off at in-person daycare. You have the teacher, I don't know if you saw this, I think it was last week, and I think it may have been out of Massachusetts, but I have to double check. A teacher who's drinking wine and smoking cigarettes on the Zoom call, talking about how we can't open the schools, it's not safe. I mean, these situations, it's like, you get one or two a day. And I do want to read for people what this post said, because I don't have kids, but if I was trying to do my job that I do every day and I had kids at the house and that added stress, and then I read this post, I would go ballistic. Okay, this is the post. It's
shocking.
If you are planning any trips for spring break, please keep that off of social media. It is hard to argue that it is unsafe for in-person instruction if parents and the public see vacation photos and international travel. In other words, if they actually understand how big of hypocrites we are.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And what's really amazing, too, is it's not the hypocrisy that the person who wrote that post had a problem with. It was just the appearance of it. Yeah. So take your vacation. Go ahead. Do as you please. Just don't tell anybody about it, or they might know how big of a hypocrite you actually are.
Yeah, the optics aren't good. And Libby, the other thing I want to talk to you about, because I know that you always see the double standards of the media, but I found this cut. We played it in the last segment. I want to play it again. I found this cut amazing. Jen Psaki, you've written about how they're not having press conferences and how the White House press corps keeps asking, when are we going to see him? Is he going to do this regularly? And she gave this answer that was such spin, and she's trying to convince them that they're actually seeing a lot of Joe Biden and that they should be happy with the amount of times they're seeing him. I want to play this for you and get your reaction. This is cut 8.
You mentioned last week that the president is expected to give a formal press briefing.
Press conference, yeah.
Yes, before the end of the month. Mm-hmm. So that is a commitment. In the next few weeks, we will see him and take questions and follow-ups and so forth.
Yeah, he has done about 40 Q&As since he took office, but in terms of a formal press conference, which I understand there's a big focus on, yes, we will have one before the end of the month.
And what does it mean going forward? Will we see more of President Biden, specifically?
More than 40 Q&As in the last month, or?
Where he will be submitted to more extensive questions, follow-ups, the kind of things we're doing today. Will we see him regularly?
I don't know that you'll see him more than 40 times a month, but I'm happy to ask him that question.
Libby, it feels like gaslighting to me.
It sure does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I have that take as well. Yeah. And so here she is saying that he's taken questions 40 times since he's taken office or better. Does she mean garbage CNN town hall with the pre-vetted questions? What is she talking about? Does she mean the incident that happened today where he went to visit a small business in D.C.? Reporters started asking him questions and they were immediately shuttered out of the room. What is that? Is that taking questions? Is that giving a media appearance? Well, how would she define that? And I think it's really, and he hasn't given the State of the Union yet. I think people need to know what the chief actually thinks, and they need to hear it from his own mouth.
Especially Libby, when every time he talks, when he's not with Jen Psaki, he says that she miscommunicated something that he said, and then when she talks, she says, "Oh no, he didn't mean to say that. That was a verbal gaffe. What he meant to say was this." I mean, it is kind of mind blowing, and there doesn't seem to be any acknowledgement that this isn't normal.
Right? Yeah, there's no acknowledgement of that at all. In fact, they just keep saying the other thing that she said was. On Friday, I think it was in that same press conference, she said that, what was it? In addition to the 40 times, she was basically saying that it was the twin crises that were keeping him so busy, the pandemic and the economy, and that because of this, he didn't have time to take questions. But he has time to visit a little business. I mean, what's really going on here? And then when she said, by the end of the first 100 days, we'll have schools open one day a week. And then he said, no, we're aiming for 5 days a week. She didn't understand, like he said. What is really going on? Does he have any idea what he's talking about? That's a question that I think a lot of Americans are starting to ask. We really want to know if this guy's in there or not.
And Libby, there was the other situation last week where he asked Nancy Pelosi if he could answer questions, and then they cut the feed. But my question for you is, because I don't really know what TV shows you choose to watch, but I'm kind of blown away that even some of the conservative TV programs like on Fox News, they don't run with this that often. They don't have these gaffes. It's like the emperor has no clothes, but the media does not want anyone to know about it.
I think that's really interesting, too. And it's also surprising after we had 4 years of people saying that President Trump was unfit to hold office, that he was mentally deranged or any of these other things. And say what you will about, former President Trump, like him or don't like him, he was sharp and he knew what he was talking about. And he spoke to the American people in as many different ways as he could come up with. He spoke to them on Twitter. Whether you liked it or not, he did. He was there. He was speaking. He took questions from reporters. He held press conferences. During the pandemic, he was out there so often trying to bring optimism or new information or what he thought was important. And he stood there and took questions. And he took questions from sort of obviously hostile reporters. And he just dealt with it because that's the job, right? I mean, that's your job. So it doesn't seem like President Biden is really doing that job. It's not enough to dictate policy and sign executive orders and send your dogs away or whatever.
And play Mario Kart. But don't forget, Libby, he's got a full schedule of eating mint chocolate chip ice cream. I don't know if you know that. Actually, it might just be regular chocolate chip. I think I'm mixing them up. He's got a full schedule.
That's why he and Pelosi are so tight. Remember her fridge full of chocolate ice cream?
Exactly. That's why she gets to tell him, Libby, if
eating their ice cream.
That's why she gets to tell him whether or not he's answering questions because of their ice cream bond. Libby Emmons, I'm sorry, I have to keep this short, but where can people follow you on Twitter?
Oh, I'm at Libby Emmons on Twitter.
And you guys can check out her stuff.
And I'm at the Post Millennial. Yeah. We're running stuff like this all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone should check out the Post Millennial. I say this almost every show, but they have the current news, and any story like this one about the LA teachers is up there the fastest. They're very quick. Thank you, Libby Emmons. I appreciate it. I hope to have you back. Now, guys, if you haven't tried Super Beets Heart Chews, you are missing out. Super Beets Heart Chews combine non-GMO beets with a powerful new ingredient, grape seed extract. The grape seed extract used in Super Beets Heart Chews has been clinically shown to be 2 times as effective at supporting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. Better blood pressure means a lot of things. It means more energy, the way nature intended, and you get that energy without the jittery caffeine or the stimulants. I always try to have a second cup of coffee during the day, and I always regret it. So now what I do, I just go for the Super Beets. You just take 2 delicious chews a day, anytime, anywhere, to get the blood pressure support you need and the energy you want. Plus, they taste delicious. Do what I did and support your heart health with delicious Super Beets Chews. That's Get Your Super Beets Chews today. Go to getsuperbeets.com/grace. When you buy 2 bags, they'll throw in a third for free. getsuperbeets.com/grace. I'll be back on the other side. We'll open up the phone lines with your calls, 844-500-4242. What do you think of this LA teachers story? I'm going to talk about all of these teachers unions. They are exposing themselves for being complete frauds. We'll be back on the other side. This is The Grace Curley Show.
Follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
Here's 1 minute of getting to know Jared Diglio. What would be your last meal on Earth?
Pizza. Cheese pizza. Just regular cheese pizza.
What drink are you going to have with your pizza?
I gotta go Coke. You gotta go Coke with pizza. It's the perfect combination.
Where's your favorite vacation spot?
I'm a staycation kind of guy. I like just staying in my place, but if I had to go to a destination, I love Italy, especially Rome.
If you could live in any state besides Massachusetts, which one would you choose?
Nevada. Wide open land, people leave you alone. Plus, it's not that far from Vegas or LA.
If you weren't in radio, what profession would you be in?
Gigolo.
Favorite comic book character?
Spider-Man. He's been my favorite since I was a kid. He's the most identifiable of the superheroes. He's just kind of a normal guy who's got a lot of problems, but he's got to overcome it and save the day.
Favorite Star Trek character?
I love TNG, but I got to go with James T. Kirk.
Dogs or cats?
Neither.
McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's.
Ice cream or cake?
Ice cream.
Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
He is the youngest senator that is going to be running. In his video, he also mentioned he's the only senator that lives in the inner city, and he's an unmarried vegan. So a lot of very unique qualities Cory Booker brings to the table, Kate.
Now, I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment. I am Spartacus. I am Spartacus.
Joey, you like movies about gladiators?
Have you ever had an LGBTQ law clerk?
I've not been a judge, so I don't have any law clerks.
Someone working for you.
I'm to be honest, I don't know the sexual orientation of my staff.
When Dick Durbin called me, I had tears of rage when I heard about this experience in that meeting. And for you not to feel that hurt, tears of rage.
Would you just stop being so dramatic?
I'm a big believer that if this country hasn't broken your heart, then you don't love her enough.
Follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curly.
And then if I could just...
Let's go, you guys. Come on, Fred. We're going to move out. Let's go. Come on, let's go. Crisis at the border, sir. Let's go, you guys. Come on, let's go.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much. That was Joe Biden. He was at a small business. We had Libby Emmons on, and she mentioned that, so Jared pulled up the sound. But wow, the reporters are finally getting a taste of their own medicine being treated like dirt. I always love the people that you hear in the background. I think I'd be really good at it, Jared. Ready? Come on, guys. Let's go. Everybody out. Come on. Move it. Thank you. It reminds me of that SNL skit with David Spade where he says, bye-bye. He's the flight attendant. Yikes. I have to mention this really quick, and I will get to the calls. We mentioned that the Queen, Buckingham Palace, put out a statement, which is very much not something they usually do. They usually don't comment on this. And something stuck out to me because Howie Carr never likes to talk about the royals, but he might find this a bit interesting. Royal biographer Angela Levin said this: the Queen has a motto. Never complain, never explain. And she's stuck with it for 4 decades. But I think in this climate in 2021, everything goes everywhere. There's so much social media that in this instance, she really cannot say anything. She can't not say anything. But that's Howie's motto. Never complain, never explain. Who would have thought that two blonde beauties would have something in common? The poll question for today is brought to you by Super Beets. Get clinically proven blood pressure support with delicious Super Beets heart chews by visiting getsuperbeets.com/grace. When you buy 2 bags, they'll throw in a third for free. That's getsuperbeets.com/grace. Getsuperbeets.com/grace. Jared Diglio is on the board. Jared, what is the poll question and what are the results thus far?
What's the weirdest part of the normal Biden presidency so far? The foot-breaking accident, the major biting incident, forgetting his Secretary of Defense, no press conferences, or snow days/lids.
Why are you saying no press conferences? He's answered 40 questions a month, Jared. What do you expect?
I want blood from this particular stone. I guess I'm just a hardo on this one.
Hotto. I'm going to say there's so much normalcy there in those things you listed. I just feel so decent going over those events, but I'm going to say the no press conferences because he is the first president in the last 15 not to hold a formal press conference by this time in his presidency.
No press conferences in the lead at 52%.
All right, so I promised you guys I would take some calls. Nick, you're next with Grace on the Grace Curley Show. Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, how you doing, Grace?
Good, what's up?
As we've heard a gazillion times, don't let a crisis go to waste. The President of the United States, the great dog owner there, right? The President of the United States, all he has is leverage between him and the unions. What's that all about? Donations, et cetera, et cetera. The people who have the real leverage to get them back to work are the people who live in the towns, in the cities, for whom they work. I know they'll all have exotic union contracts. However, it's got to be that the mayor, the town councils, whatever the upper echelons of the local city governments are, especially the larger ones, they're the ones that call the shots. What I mean by that is you come back to work or you don't come back to work. You don't come back to work, you're on tenure, you can go on a sabbatical, you will not get paid, right?
Right.
I'm sure there are thousands of young people who would love to have a teacher's job and get their foot in the door, and also retired teachers who are willing to come in and teach to students who want to learn. And also, too, you put leverage on your representatives, local representatives, to change any rules that would not allow this to happen. But I've got to believe that it could happen. What do you think about that?
Nick, I think you make a great point. I pay a lot of money to my town for these schools, and I don't have any kids or anything, but still, I'd like to know the money's going somewhere, that someone's benefiting from it. These teachers are just sitting at home. And then you read a story like the one we talked about in the last segment about from the Post Millennial that LA teachers are advised not to post spring break pics on their social media as union advocates to keep schools closed. And all I can think about, Nick, is whenever I open up the lines to a segment like this, I get one or two people, and I appreciate them calling in, but they call in and they say, I'm wrong about the teachers' unions, and, it's got to be safe, and you got to put teachers first. Then I see this. Then I see teachers in a private Facebook group saying, you can go on vacation, just don't post it because then they're going to know the gig is up. And I go, you know what? My gut is telling me that something's rotten here. My gut is telling me that you guys are not on the level. This is all a ploy. You're taking advantage of the system. And all of these kids are suffering. There are so many reports out now. Suicide is up. Drug abuse is up. And at a certain point, Nick is absolutely right. The people that are paying for these teachers and these teachers' unions need to stand up and need to say enough is enough. Get back in the classroom or quit. Stop cashing the paychecks. We'll talk more about this on the other side, and I also want to talk about the crisis, or as they like to call it, the challenge at the border. 844-500-4242. Call in, guys. This is The Grace Curley Show. We are all our own worst critics. If you have a pair of deep lines in between your eyebrows or your skin is looking dull and tired, do what I did. I went to see Jennifer at Lakes Cosmetic Institute in Guilford, New Hampshire. And wow, I am so happy I did. They are the experts in a variety of non-invasive injectable treatments, including Botox, fillers, microneedling, laser, and chemical peels, to name a few. I am so happy with my results, and I know you will be too. Go to lakescosmetic.com. That's lakescosmetic.com. Tell them Grace sent you. Howie, have you ever heard the expression, if there's a nip in the air, the Irish will drink it?
No, but that does sound reasonable considering my Irish heritage.
Well, Howie, I have a big announcement. After 100 years, McConnell's Irish Whiskey is returning to the U.S. Having left because of Prohibition, McConnell's is making its comeback for a new generation of whiskey enthusiasts.
I'll drink to that.
McConnell's Irish Whiskey is the comeback spirit. When you take your first sip, you'll know some things are just worth the wait. Sláinte. You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
It's story time with Grace Curley. Tell me the story about the time you got pulled over by the police with Howie in the car.
Howie and I were going on a remote, and I was driving at the time the Howie Carr, which was Howie's face wrapped around this car. And a police officer pulled us over, and he was really just asking a lot of questions about the car. And then he said to me, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And I was like, I don't know, but I didn't think I was going that fast. Then he started talking to Howie, and Howie offered him a book. He said he couldn't take it, but he said he was a big fan. And then by the end of it, it became very clear to me that he had really just pulled us over because he was a fan of Howie and wanted to meet him. To this day, that is the only time I've been pulled over for speeding, and I was not speeding. So I blame Howie for that.
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at @G_Curley.
What does the mainstream media really think of you? Banjos, please.
Bigots and racists. Credulous, rude, tin-toothed, working class, angry, white.
Aging, angry white guys.
Angry white man.
The angry white old men.
These angry white men.
The angry white vote.
All these angry white people.
Too many of them want to see the people who are begging for change put down.
Racist.
Racist, bigoted base.
It's white privilege, it's white nationalism, it's anger, it's rage, it's incel.
You tolerate a certain level of racism.
1 in 3 Americans are racist.
The credulous boomer rube demo.
Y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling. Even though
your math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading. They're too far gone.
Look at them. They're high-fiving each other, and they're going to go back, to the Olive Garden and to the Holiday Inn that they're staying at and the Garden Marriott, and they're going to have some drinks.
Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio.
Just want to thank you both, and I want to thank the former general. I keep calling him general, but the guy who runs that outfit over there. I want to make sure we thank the secretary for all he's done to try to implement what we've just talked about.
I want to thank right now the guy that runs this outfit, Jared Diglio. Oh, I messed it up. I meant to not say your name. The guy that runs this outfit. Wow. That in the outfit, once again, Jared, just to confirm, that's the Pentagon. Okay, cool. A new poll conducted by Rasmussen Report found that 50% of Americans question President Joe Biden's physical and mental fitness. 50%. After that clip, you would understand why it is getting very concerning. But right now, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the worst moments from these teachers' unions. They have a laundry list of examples of times where they've, broken their own rules and just ignored the science, and then they continue to refuse to go back to school. Before we get to that, though, I did open the phone lines, 844-500-4242. Bruce, you are next with Grace on the Grace Curley Show. Go ahead, Bruce.
Hi, Grace. It's Bruce. And, I just wanted to tell you, I have not slept for days since the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry story came out. I mean, there are, 15,000 elderly people who died needlessly in New York. There's tens of millions of people dying of COVID around the world. There's starvation. Our country's in crisis. The border's in crisis. But the real problem is that Meghan and Harry are challenged by life. Their $25 million that they have is just not enough. And I feel for these two so badly that, as I say, I haven't slept in nights. It's just kept me up night after night after night. It's such a tragedy.
Well, Bruce, you're such a sympathetic guy, and I appreciate you sending your best wishes. I don't know if you saw a picture of the house that they're currently living in, but again, if you saw the view from it, it's just, it's tough. So I do appreciate that.
How can they live such a strenuous life? It's so sad. And, the fact that they put her in chains and they forced her to marry into that awful family of royals, I just can't believe it. I feel her pain. It's encompassing me now. I can't even concentrate on anything else.
Wait, Bruce.
Such a tragic story.
Can I stop you there for 1 second? I am going to let you go on to your next point because I'm sure it wasn't about the Royals. But while we're on the topic, since you've given me the in here, I would like to play Don Lemon because he thinks that there's one side to this story and that you don't have to hear the other side. I want to play this cut for you, Bruce. This is cut 3.
Brianna, also, when people say, well, we haven't heard from the other side. What's the other side going to say? They're going to say, of course, we're not racist or whatever. But what did they do? Think about their actions. They did not stand up for their own because their own was married to a black woman, had a black child. They didn't listen to him inside of the royal family. They let him go. They let him leave the country. They wouldn't come to terms with what they wanted to do. So, listen, we've only heard from one side, but that one side at this point rings very true.
Judge Lemon scares me because can you imagine if our justice system was set up in the way the liberals want it to be, where it's like, no, we heard the side we wanted to hear. You are guilty as charged. You are exiled.
Grace, are we really having this conversation?
It feels like a fake world.
Entitled rich people, really? Like that's the most important thing on earth right now.
I know.
Is two entitled brats. I just can't believe it's getting the airtime it's getting.
And the ratings. The ratings, Bruce. But Bruce, go ahead. I assume you had something else to call about, even though I know this is weighing heavily on you.
Yeah, you know what? Really, that's all I wanted to say. I just thought it's so comical. Everything else is so important. The fact that I basically see the country that I grew up in just going down the tubes day after day after day, and the frustration in that. Well, one thing I will say, I think the country's going in the direction it's going because those who really believe in the country just do not think that's possible. Like I think Americans feel like America's always going to be here, like it doesn't have to be protected, that freedoms don't have to be protected. And I think they're just miffed that this whole thing could actually go away. And so nobody's doing anything about it.
Yeah,
Republican, Democrat, anybody. It's frustrating.
Bruce, and when you say that, it reminds me of what Ronald Reagan once said, which I'm going to butcher because I'm not great with quotes, but it was something along the lines of every generation has to fight to protect our freedom because we're one generation away from losing it. And I think you bring up a great point, and I think it kind of ties into this cancel culture because The left for years has been telling us every single time something happens, you don't really care about that. You don't really care if we take off the name of the syrup woman. You don't really care if you can't read this one Dr. Seuss book. You don't really care about this and that. And eventually, and I'm going to steal it from David Marcus here, but it's like pointillism. Eventually, you step back from all these minor inconveniences or these minor changes or these minor limiting, these minor limits on your freedom, and you step back and you see the picture and you go, wait, what is happening? What is happening to this country?
Grace, I remember once mentioning to my father how they could ever have let Hitler do what he did. And my father said to me, you're exactly right. We stood by and we let something awful happen. And he said to me, but I'll be interested to see, the Woodstock generation. They went to Woodstock and they said, oh, we're going to make the world a better place and we're going to improve the world. And, they spit at their parents and said they were going to do a better job. And if you look at the Woodstock generation from Clinton on to now, I think my father was right. He said, just wait and let's see how you guys run things and let's see how you guys improve the world. And my dad used to say to me, he said, I think you're the most selfish generation on earth.
Yeah.
And I think when you guys are in charge, you're gonna demonstrate that. And all those guys who went to Woodstock who spit on their parents and the whole peace love generation, they all went to Wall Street, all became lawyers, and took everything they could from America. And I just think it's awful.
Yeah, and I see your point with that. I noticed that when I was younger, I would have these friends, and there wasn't anything wrong, really. We were all, had pretty nice, normal lives, but they wanted something to rebel against, and there wasn't really something there. It was just like they wanted to rebel just for the sake of rebelling. And I see a lot of people now who tweet, if you really want to be a rebel, have a family, have a solid, tight-knit family, and, maybe even take them to church or maybe, be a conservative. It's crazy because these people whose thoughts and opinions line up perfectly with Hollywood elite, the political elite, all of the wealthy people, the far left, the corporations, they think that they are breaking the mold, shattering the glass ceiling by having the same opinions as the most powerful and corrupt people on the planet. And I think the Harvey Weinstein thing was a great glimpse into that, because you're like, wait a second, this is a guy that Meryl Streep called him God. You all loved him a hot 2 minutes ago. And now he's the worst person in the world, which he's gross. I'm not saying he's not, but they were all on board for it. The same people who want to lecture you about everything and tell you how to live your life, they doth protest a little bit too much. And I do want to bring up a story, because I think Bruce just gave me a great segue, and I do appreciate the call. 844-500-4242. We'll be taking more calls throughout the course of the show. The story about what's happening on the border is not being exaggerated. It is a complete bleep show. They have no idea what they're doing. The answer last week from Jen Psaki was very telling when she said that these kids will get sent back. Most of these kids will get sent back eventually. She did not have an answer. And I want to read you guys from the New York Post, because the numbers are pretty staggering. Without any real debate, without congressional hearings, new legislation, or anything more than a series of executive orders, President Biden has effectively put in place a complete open border policy on the southwest border. All he had to do was signal with the stroke of a pen that you can get into the U.S. and you can probably stay. Predictably, that's the key word, predictably. You did not have to be, you didn't have to have a crystal ball to figure out that this was going to happen. It's cause and effect. Predictably, illegal immigration surged, but so did legal admissions of asylum seekers who had been barred from entering the country under stricter Trump-era, Orange Man bad, policies and pandemic border security measures. The message up and down the border was clear. Biden will let you in. The result, whether Biden will admit it or not, the result is a full-blown crisis. So many unaccompanied migrant children are entering the country right now that federal agencies responsible for housing them are nearing capacity, even as they scramble to find more facilities, including U.S. military bases and temporary tent shelters. Last week, the Department of Health and Human Services said it had more than 7,700 children in its custody, more than it has ever had at one time. The number of migrant children crossing the border is on pace to exceed the all-time record by a whopping 45%, according to federal officials who are scrambling to find up to 20,000 beds to house unaccompanied minors. Meanwhile, migrant camps in Mexican border towns are quickly emptying out thanks to Biden's executive order ending the Trump-era Remain in Mexico program. One shelter in a Mexican city across the border from Brownsville, Texas, housed more than 3,000 migrants. It's now deserted after several large groups of migrants were escorted over the border by officials with the United Nations. State and local authorities have been overwhelmed by the influx of migrants in South Texas. We talked a little bit last week about the 100 migrants released from federal custody who tested positive for COVID-19. Meanwhile, Mexican drug cartels are taking advantage of the situation, charging migrants thousands of dollars per person in order to cross. Cartel-associated smugglers are so busy, they're issuing wristbands to migrants to keep track of them and collecting personal information from migrants to ensure payments of debts to the cartels after they're released into the U.S. This is a complete mess. And you can't talk about it. And here's what I find really amazing. I wrote about this in my Herald column this past weekend. Where are the Karens? Where are the Dr. Faucis? Where are the hall monitors? Where are the busybodies? I want them to gather the curves and the charts and the flows and the flattening. And I want them to be on that border, to be on that wall, and to explain to these people that, of course, you can come in. Everyone can come in. It's a house party here. But mask up. You don't want to kill grandma. Completely insane. And they won't say anything about it. And Jared, I know we got to go to break, but I want to play one cut for people. This is Jen Psaki, because normally I'd be saying this is what the president had to say about it, but he doesn't say anything. So this is Jen Psaki, cut 18.
Is there a need for more capacity?
Well, we know just purely by the numbers, Steve, that there is going to be a need, right? Because we have a large number of kids, unaccompanied children who are coming across the border.
Just in case you're a numbers person, they're projecting 117,000 unaccompanied minors. But there was no bad messaging from the Biden administration. This is all sheerly coincidence that it's happening now. Guys, when we get back, I'll take more of your calls. Side note, very exciting. We have Joe Borelli, the New York City councilman. He's going to come on the show and talk about a part of the Cuomo scandal that I don't think is getting enough coverage. He'll be joining us at the 2 o'clock. Hotels, vets, and dentists, they all have purchased multiple units of the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. I'm going to hold it up for the camera, which is why Eden Pure has done it again. For the first time ever, for our listeners only, you can save $200 on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier 3-pack. That's right. You'll get 3 units for under $200 and save $200. One for your basement, first floor, and second floor, all in one purchase. You've heard Dr. Matt. You've heard Dr. Matt on my show because he was on the show today talking about Major Biden. And he's bought a couple of Thunderstorms. He loves them so much. He even bought one for his son's stinky cat, which, again, if the cat is listening, I do apologize for calling you that. If you have enough Thunderstorms and you're thinking, I don't need any more, you're wrong. You can get this and you can give away a few to your friends because you know better than anyone how well these work. It's been months now. We've been talking about the Thunderstorm Air Purifier. People always ask me if it really works. It does. And not only does it work, but it's small. It's easy. You can be lazy with it, plug it in, never have to deal with it again. And you don't have to replace any air filters, which of course saves you time and money. Go to EdenPure.com, put in code word Howie3 to save $200 for their special 3-pack. That's EdenPure.com, code word Howie3. This special is 1 week only. We'll be back on the other side. This is The Grace Curley Show.
You can call her late for dinner. Just don't call her Gracie. It's The Grace Curley Show. This is Charlie Baker.
Hey everybody, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker here.
And these are his friends.
I may not make it through this story, and I told a story about a fisherman that I met in New Bedford. He's coming off the boat. He was a big, huge man, completely soaked in sweat and salt water.
In the world of Charlie Baker and his friends, the real world of panic porn, political leaders cannot survive without absolute power, and the public can't be expected to blindly follow orders without first hearing a made-up story.
And he started to cry, and I gave him a hug. He was a big, huge guy. It was like hugging a mountain. And then he said, see those two kids up there? And he said, those are my sons. They were both spectacular football players at New Bedford High School who were given college scholarships, and I ruined their lives. And you hear those kinds of stories every day.
And they're the only friends Charlie Baker has.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
Hair loss is not one of life's more enjoyable experiences. If you're looking to fill in your hairline or reverse years of hair loss, DiStefano Hair Restoration will create a result that will be a transformative experience. The result of my IGT procedure was quite remarkable. I now have fuller, thicker hair so I can even wear it a bit longer. There are a few major decisions I've made in my life that I wish I did sooner. My hair restoration is number one. It was by far one of the best moves I've ever made. My hair looks awesome, and the confidence from having a full head of hair again has left me feeling great. I used to look in the mirror and dreaded seeing my ever-increasing bald spot. Now when I look in the mirror, I see the new me with a full head of thick hair. For information on how to make the same choice I did, go to hairman.com/Howie. What are you waiting for? More hair to fall out? Get the hair you've always wanted. Hairman.com/Howie.
Grace Curley. She's working for you.
I'm like Bette Midler and For the Boys. Gotta keep the troops entertained.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. I just realized we have a cut here where White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki does seem to admit that maybe their messaging has been a little bit off as far as migrants and the border. Let's play this cut, Jared, cut 19.
I would say it's clear we need to work more on getting the message out and being very clear. Now is not the time to come. There is the majority of people who come to the border are turned away. Yes, we have changed the policies of the last administration as it relates to unaccompanied children, but the majority of families, adults, the vast majority are turned away at the border. And that is a message that clearly we need to continue to look for means and ways of getting out, more and more out to the region.
We had a way to get that out to the region. His name was Donald J. Trump, and he was fabulous. And we miss him every day, Jen Psaki. I find that to be a little bit racist or discriminatory. Telling people that they're not going to be welcomed in with open arms. What's next? A wall? What's next? America first? This administration is not what I signed up for. I thought we were all going to be, just open borders, everyone's welcome. And now they seem to be changing that. And of course, it would not be the Biden administration if they didn't keep the media out, if they weren't really trying to suppress any sort of information from getting out. Let's play cut 16.
He's committed to, we are all committed to allowing cameras into these facilities, but we want to figure out the best way to do that, protecting the privacy of the kids in a way that's secure and safe, and certainly that's something we look to do in the future.
Yeah. And I want to read you guys two headlines here. They're 1 week apart, okay? This is Fox News last week. This was published March 1st. Biden DHS Secretary Mayorkas claims there's no crisis at southern border. Let's fast forward. March 8th. DHS chief requests volunteers to help at southern border amid overwhelming migrant surge. I love this idea of they wanted to fund the police, and then Bill de Blasio's wife comes out and says, by the way, if you guys can, intervene in a crime, that'd be great. And then they wanted to fund ICE. And now they're saying, hey, by the way, we need some volunteers to help us down at the border. Why don't we just keep the people in their jobs protecting us instead of bringing in these volunteers to do their jobs for them? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. It's absolutely wild. Guys, on the other side, we're going to be talking about Melissa DeRosa. So here's the deal with that. I've been seeing all these stories about Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, and I just keep thinking to myself, this guy has gotten away with so much, but the people around him have to be pretty evil themselves. We're going to be talking about that on the other side. Do not go anywhere. Joe Borelli comes up next. This is the Grace Curley Show.
Between the news, appointment TV, and endless scrolling on our phones, we're looking at screens more than ever. But how do you rest your eyes without feeling totally unplugged? By putting in a pair of Raycon wireless earbuds and listening to something great. Whether you're listening to your favorite podcast, binging an audiobook, or working out to a pumped-up playlist, Raycons are built to perform anywhere and anytime. With water and sweat-resistant construction and seamless Bluetooth pairing. There are no dangling wires or white stems to worry about. Raycons offer a comfortable in-ear fit for a more discreet look in a variety of colorways for maximum style. And with 6 hours of playtime, you can unplug for a while. The best part? Raycon wireless earbuds start at half the price of the other premium audio brands. So you can pick up a pair and a spare. Right now, get 15% off Raycons at buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buy, B-U-Y, Raycon.com/Howie for 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. buyraycon.com/Howie.
Are we starting to feel bad for Joe Biden? Sorta. Are we going to play his gaffes anyway? Of course.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate.
Now we need to stand behind Jamie Harrison, the next president, next senator.
I'm looking forward to appointing the first African-American woman to the United States Senate. Just like here in California, here in Nevada. Back in the spring, late fall, late spring, late winter, early fall. Anyway, you know what I mean.
Look, tomorrow's Superstar Tuesday.
I tell you what, I'm rushing ahead, aren't I? We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. It says you cannot have 20, 30, 40, 50 clips in a weapon.
We'll see who's sleepy.
Mr. Vice President, thank you.
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
All right. It's Chris.
Sometimes I wake up and I think it's 1920 and not 2020.
And now, another minute of Madam Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
But again, don't.
You have these wings, AOC and her group on one side.
That's like 5 people. They would say, play games, and then they'd say, open sesame. Except we don't say sesame, we say open Biden. But no, because we are not. We have the number is growing. We have 91 women. There are 115 women in Congress, 116. 15 are Republican, 91 are Democrats. I happen to be a manifestation of the women power that is coming forth now, but only one manifestation. It was like getting kicked in the back by a mule constantly. It was physical. It was so unbelievable. The Times found Lincoln. Not to be presumptuous to put ourselves in those categories, but the Times have found us.
You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I take them twice a day. Once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body, and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com. He's the gaff that keeps on giving. Here's 1 minute of former Vice President Joe Biden.
You teachers who touch them, figuratively speaking, well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts.
I get in trouble some of the things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, with me it starts here in my gut, it goes to my heart, and then I articulate it.
And by the way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down, so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Here are some rapid-fire questions with Taylor Cormier. If you had to live in a state besides Massachusetts, which would you choose?
Montana. No question about it. When is the last time you've heard of anything happening in Montana? The answer is you haven't. It's quiet. Nobody's going to bother you in Montana.
If you weren't a radio guy, what profession would you be in?
My number one dream job is to be an antique dealer, like the American Pickers. I would love that job. Going through people's old garbage and junk and trying to find that diamond in the rough, and you're always learning as you go. It's a lot of fun to watch, and I think that's why I go antiquing on the weekends.
What is your favorite color?
Blue.
What's your favorite TV show?
The Honeymooners. Jackie Gleason is the most hilarious person on television ever.
What is your favorite soda?
I'm not a big soda guy. It's got to be a special occasion for me to drink soda, but I'm partial to Dr. Pepper.
You've been hearing me talk about Super Beets for a while now, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, why Super Beets? You could take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I take them twice a day. Once in the morning when I get up, even before I have my first cup of coffee, and the other time in the afternoon, right before the show. It gives me a burst of energy. It's great for my blood pressure. It's good for circulation. It just makes you feel better. If that doesn't convince you, we can talk about the science behind Super Beets. Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and even supports healthy blood pressure. But Super Beets does so much more than eating regular beets and is unparalleled compared to other beet powders. Just one scoop of Super Beets has the nitric oxide equivalent of 3 whole beets. Go to superbeetsradio.com/Howie and try out Super Beets yourself. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie. www.superbeetsradio.com/Howie.
Brace yourself, guys. Here's 1 minute of Nancy Pelosi.
I myself have always been for lowering the voting age to 16. I think it's really important to capture kids when they're in high school, which was a very amicable conversation. Amiable, I guess you would say, not amicable. That they wanted their voices to be heard. I don't think our colleague is anti-Semitic. I think she has a different experience in the use of words. That's not the total package, but there are some of the major points of discussion, I would hope, from sea to shining sea, because they are not getting paid $163.
She's the Boston Herald's wittiest wordsmith, the last woman standing at the Whiskey Priest. Once a very legitimate magazine that we definitely didn't make up named her the Michael Jordan of radio. Wait, don't you think we're laying it on a little thick here, Grace?
Just stick to the script.
Oh, okay. Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio, it's the Grace Curley Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Grace Curley Show. I'm so excited to be here for another hour. We are living the dream, and we have a lot to get to. But, and we have a new sound from Jen Psaki. It is absolutely amazing. Now they are requesting that we don't put new labels on things. You know, labels like kids in cages or crisis at the border. There's no more need for labels. But before we get to that, we will play that sound. I have a great guest on. If you want to know what's going on in New York, you go to Councilman Joe Borelli. He knows absolutely everything, and he is a very outspoken critic of Governor Andrew Cuomo. And unlike all of these other critics, Joe was there from the start. He did not need to kind of test the water before he decided that Cuomo was a very bad dude. Joe, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you for always having me and giving me a voice on which to spew the unfortunate truth about a fundamentally bad human. Grace, you will never hear me say that Bill de Blasio, who gets such a bad rap, is a bad human being. But that's where we are with Andrew Cuomo, and it's finally out there for the world to see.
Yeah, and Councilman, part of the thing that always kind of amazes me is that for someone like Andrew Cuomo, and guaranteed, you know, he does have the Cuomo name, he's definitely, politically privileged, and he's a Democrat and all of these things, and that does give you a good amount of power and the ability to get away with things. But to this extent that we're seeing, whether it's the nursing home scandal or the sexual harassment scandals, now there's 5 women coming out against him on that, there does have to be a strong group of people who help you kind of get away with all of that. And one name that keeps coming up, and I was thinking about this today, and I said, I need somebody who can explain to people exactly who this woman is Melissa DeRosa. I keep seeing her name. She was the first one to kind of slip up and let the cat out of the bag. Can you explain to people who this woman is?
Yes, so Melissa DeRosa is the secretary to the governor, which is the number 2 operational position in the state. You know, like vice president, the lieutenant governor doesn't really have a role in New York, and it's the secretary to the governor who really has that operational second in command role, and that's Melissa DeRosa. The problem with Melissa DeRosa is that she is, like the equivalent of the swamp in Albany. I guess it would be like the frozen tundra swamp. But she is as up to her waist in the swamp as one could possibly be, because her father is the top lobbyist in Albany. I mean, they quantify how much lobbying firms bring in, and her father's lobbying firm, he's the head partner of Bolton St. John's in Albany, is routinely number 1. Her brother is a lobbyist for the same firm. Her husband, guess what he does? is a lobbyist for Uber. And one of the obviously one of the most influential companies that are lobbying state government right now, in every state capital, frankly, is of course Uber. I mean, she is up to her nose in the swamp and corruption of Albany, and it's paid off for her family. At least we could say that. We can give her some credit.
And part of the story that's interesting is that Melissa DeRosa was on that Zoom call with other Democrats where I think the excuse, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously, Joe, but the excuse was kind of like, we had to cook the books or we had to lie about the numbers because we thought that Trump and his mean tweets were going to, open a federal investigation into us. Now, that's what she said. The timeline doesn't actually make sense, though.
It's even worse than that, Grace. I mean, just to clarify the point, because it's a very good point. The paraphrasing should be, we couldn't comply with you, the legislature's actual role in oversight, because we had a policy that you were trying to exert oversight because people were literally freaking dying. We couldn't comply with a freedom of information law request from an outside think tank that does oversight. We couldn't do that because we couldn't comply with the federal DOJ request for information, a lawful request from the Justice Department about nursing home deaths. We couldn't do all of those things because Trump might be angry and do a nasty press conference and call out the governor and tweet about the governor, and he'll look stupid. She was hoping the Democratic members of the legislature would just be like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense. We hate Trump. That all makes sense. And to their credit, many of them actually pushed back and said, nope, that's absolute garbage. You know that's garbage. And here we are now, I mean, after the state attorney general's report, knowing the truth, that they really did cover up the evidence. I mean, this guy, just another paraphrase, right? This guy who wrote a book, citizen Andrew Cuomo wrote a book in which he praises himself for solving the pandemic, that Governor Andrew Cuomo and his gubernatorial staff had to cover up to make the excuse that he did actually save the day.
Yeah.
That's the scandal. It's depraved.
And not to mention the fact that I guess he got paid like 7 figures for the book, and now he's claiming, and at the time, I think, Joe, and this is something, I'm talking to Joe Borelli, city councilman from New York. You guys should follow him on Twitter, and he's never afraid to go after Andrew Cuomo. The part of the book story that came out yesterday about how much money he made, none of that surprised me. I mean, he's going to make a good deal of money off a book like this because that's just the world we live in. It's 2021, and people actually buy crap like that, I guess, to put on their coffee tables. But, Joe, the part of it that amazed me was he claimed way back when that he was going to give a good portion of the proceeds to charity, to an unnamed, unspecified COVID charity. And I'd like to know what that charity is.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to follow up. I mean, I believe he said the same thing about his first book. His first book it actually sold 3,000 copies, which in publishing world is like, it's not even worth signing a person who's going to sell 3,000 books. But yeah, I mean, we have no idea who or what he meant, whether he actually did it. But now that the books are flying off the shelves, not by purchasers, but by bookstore owners who are burying them in the back, I don't know if he could even meet the contractual obligation of his advance. I mean, when you sign an advance, often you have to rely on selling a certain number of books. I'm not sure he sold 7 figures worth of books or even anywhere near that.
Right. No, I would agree with you there. So now quickly here, back to Melissa DeRosa. I just want to tell you this and get your take. She tweeted out today, she tweeted a story from the New York Daily News. It was an opinion piece, and this was what the story was titled. We were right to laud Cuomo. Don't let scandals distract from pandemic competence. She thinks we should still be praising this guy.
I mean, this is the level of arrogance, right? As the world is collapsing around them, yes, with sexual harassment scandals, but also on the fact that the guy was not who we falsely believed him to be during COVID. She's out there trying to continue, even today, to perpetuate that myth, that lie, Andrew the savior, Andrew the hero, Andrew the COVID conqueror. And this is the person that we know him no longer to be. By the way, that same article, and this is how wrong this article is, that same article dismisses the sexual harassment claims against Cuomo, and it basically says, and I'll quote it, it says, harassment claims from 15 years ago basically aren't worth, regurgitating. These claims, one of them, yes, is from 15 years ago. These claims, though, are from the past 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's insulting. It's wrong. If this was a Republican, this would be the only thing people spoke about, how one of the president's supporters wrote an op-ed trying to dismiss the claims of women, dismiss the claims of victims in this case. And they'd be right if it was a Republican, but now when it's a Democrat, we don't even hear them making that claim. I mean, some people are, but most people aren't.
Yeah, and I think another part of this story, when I talk about the level of incompetence, and sometimes when it comes to government, you either think, okay, they're either doing something purposefully, they're either corrupt or they're incompetent. And I don't think there's any question at this point that Andrew Cuomo's administration is corrupt because they kind of admitted it themselves. But I also bring that into the sexual harassment because in a lot of these women's stories, they make mention of the people that work there and how they kind of helped cover things up. And I don't know how much people knew, and that's why I won't name any names in this situation, but it does make you think, like, if this behavior, in some of the stories, in the story that Lindsay Boylan tells, Joe, and I know you know this, but she talks about him asking her to play strip poker when a state trooper was sitting right next to him. And then, and then in another story with the woman who he put his hands on at a wedding, Anna Roosh, she was at a wedding, and you can see all these people in the background. So I just am curious about how much these people, and specifically these women, covered up for this monster.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to sit through the state sexual harassment, trainings before, and the things he was doing are not gray areas, So I mean, look, I don't mean to dismiss anyone who's ever been offended by people, but like if someone complimented you on your blouse, there are two things that could mean. One is kind of nefarious, and one is not. There's a gray area. When you're the governor of the state, you trying to kiss your staffers, even if it's on the cheek in a private room by yourself with the door shut, that's not okay. If you're the governor, if you're a 60-year-old man, you shouldn't be talking to women who are in their 20s about their sex life and their promiscuity and whether they sleep with older men. Like there's no leeway there. That's just wrong. And if those claims and those accusations were leveled against him, or even reported, or even had the knowledge of anyone who was higher up than those employees, they would have an obligation to report it and follow the protocols. The New York Post broke a story where these protocols weren't even followed. So when one of the women, I forget which one it was to be honest, but one of them did report that she felt uncomfortable, and instead of having an investigation, they covered it up. They literally covered it up and dismissed the allegation and said, no, it's the governor, and we're not going to pursue it. That's not what that's not what the law says. That's not what the law that Governor Cuomo actually signed says. That's not the law that Governor Cuomo actually touted himself for passing says. And he should be held accountable to the same standards that he himself held other members of the legislature to. 2018, he called on the Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman, to resign based on the accusations in one single article in Vanity Fair. And before that, these are names that your audience wouldn't know, but there's been 4 or 5 men who were legislators in the state legislature who he called upon to resign based on the accusations and not on the investigation and facts.
But now it would be anti-democratic for him to resign. Councilman Joe Borelli, I have to ask you one more question before you go here. Bill de Blasio's wife is, she's a big proponent of defund the police. She got Bill on board, which I'm sure wasn't hard to convince him. And now she's telling people in New York that they should intervene if they see a hate crime going on. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, definitely not. This is one of those things where, me, myself, and other elected officials are just saying, no. I mean, not that you'd ever listen to the First Lady of New York City anyway on anything, but, this is one of those things where if you see somebody, drawing a swastika on a fence somewhere, you should call the police first. I mean, this is not something you should intervene in. You still could face criminal charges, and this is just an absurd take by an otherwise absurd series of policies where the First Lady, the Mayor, and the City Council are trying to devolve the powers and the responsibilities of the police. Yeah,
and not to mention just ruin the city in the meanwhile. Councilman Joe Borelli, thank you very much. Joe, where can people find you on Twitter?
At Joe Borelli NYC for tons of fun.
Perfect. Thank you so much. He is really great on there, and he really does hold all of these incompetent politicians their feet to the fire. I mean, we think we have it bad here in Massachusetts, but if you tune into some news in New York, you'll realize it's not that bad. Guys, if you're thinking of replacing your carpets due to pet stains and odors, you must try Genesis 950. The reviews are amazing. This is one product that actually works. With water, it breaks down the bonds of stains and odors, so they're gone for good. Its antibacterial component removes pet odors from carpets and padding. It can be used in a carpet cleaning machine, and it's green, so it's safe for your family and pets. My favorite part about Genesis 950, well, one, I really like the spray bottle because it shoots the spray out really strong, which I like. But number two is it's made in America. If you're tired of pet cleaners that don't work, it's time to buy Genesis 950. This is the key, guys. 1 gallon of industrial strength Genesis 950 makes up to 7 gallons of cleaner. But Genesis 950 is not just for pet stains. It's great for bathrooms, for kitchens, floors, upholstery, grease stains. Consider Genesis 950 before purchasing new carpets. They have great customer service. Order 1 gallon direct at genesis950.com to receive a free spray bottle, free shipping, and a $10 coupon using code GRACE. That's genesis950.com. Coupon only available for 1 gallon purchase. Genesis 950, much cheaper than replacing your carpets. We'll take your calls on the other side, 844-500-4242. This is The Grace Curley Show.
You're listening to The Grace Curley Show.
200 moms, dads, sons, daughters, grandparents who are no longer with us. I think it's up to 30,000 people have died. Over 600,000 dead, 600 plus thousand people.
60,000.
60. We're in the middle of a pandemic that had cost us more than 85,000 jobs, lives of millions of people. And now we have over 120 million dead from COVID. 200 million people have died. 205 million people, 1,000 people. 210,000 people have died. 4 million existing billion, 500,000. 50,000. A class of 25, you end up having 2 classes of 12, for example. But you know, in the 2020 census, which is now 2 censuses ago, the Oval, back in May 9, 2019, a $15 million, $15,000, $15 minimum wage. I got to the Senate 180 years ago.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
I tested positive. Let's use this example of me having it as proof that you can get it too. God forbid, the rest of us should be staying at home for our mothers and the people that we love, and to keep us farther apart will ultimately bring us closer together in this cause. We have to do everything we can to avoid being sick. No matter where the virus goes, the way to stop it will always be the same. Our collective conscientious actions. Staying home. Staying home saves lives. I don't want some loser, fat tire biker get in my face and in my space and talk to me. I don't want to hear it. All right, here is the official re-entry from the basement.
You're a phony! Hey, this guy's a great big phony!
Cleared by CDC. A little sweaty. Just worked out.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
She's got the voice of an angel.
I've been called the songbird of my generation, by people who've heard me.
It's Grace Curley.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. I thank you so much for joining us today and every day, every weekday. We're having so much fun. I will say, though, the eye rolls that I'm given lately are just, my eyes are going to get stuck in the back of my head listening to some of this sound. Wait till you hear the Saki sound we have for you. But first, get clinically proven blood pressure support with delicious Super Beets Heart Chews by visiting getsuperbeets.com/grace. When you buy 2 bags, and by the way, they give you a lot of Super Beets in one bag. You buy 2 bags, they'll throw in a third for free. That's getsuperbeets.com/grace. Getsuperbeets.com/grace. Jared Diglio, what is the poll question and what are the results thus far?
What's the weirdest part of the normal Biden presidency so far?
It's just so normal. I don't even know how you could come up with anything.
The foot-breaking accident, the major biting incident, forgetting his Secretary of Defense, no press conferences or snow days/lids.
No press conferences. He is breaking all of the rules. This is unprecedented.
No press conferences at 59% in the lead.
All right, so there's a lot of Jen Psaki here to break down.
Suck it to me, baby.
I want to start with the most outrageous part of her comments, which is now that President Trump is no longer in the White House and now that this is Biden's normal America, we do not need to label things. Okay? Let's play it.
At this point, is this a crisis at the border?
Look, I don't think we need to sit here and put new labels on what we have already conveyed is challenging. What we have conveyed is a top priority for the president.
Labels like crisis, bombshell, all these kids in
Holocaust,
cages.
concentration camp.
Oh my God. How can she say
literally
that?
Hitler?
How can she say this with a straight face? Now that Joe Biden's the president, we don't need labels anymore. Tell that to Orange Man Bad. Good God. And then she's asked about the dog incident. And this is what she had to say about that.
On a different note, can you clarify for us what happened with the president's dogs? There's some reports that one of them was involved in a biting incident. Can you clarify exactly what happened?
Sure. Champion Major, the president and first lady's dogs, members of the family, are still getting acclimated and accustomed to their new surroundings and new people. And on Monday, the first family's younger dog, Major, was surprised by an unfamiliar person and reacted in a way that resulted in a minor injury to the individual, which was handled by the White House Medical Unit with no further treatment needed. It had been previously planned already for the dogs to be cared for by family friends in Delaware during Dr. Biden's travels to military bases this week. She has a 3-day trip this week, and the dogs will return to the White House soon.
She is the best at talking and not saying anything. It's all semantics, the way she talks. There was a person who, and this really is man bites dog. I mean, she stopped short of saying it was the guy's fault, whoever did this. But there was a person who surprised him, and this is what happened. There was an incident. Be more vague in every single statement you make. It's so incredibly vague. If this was the Trump administration, it would be like, who got bit? Was it a woman? Was this a sexist act from his dog? Why does Trump need to have a dog? Is this a show of toxic masculinity? Wowzers. And I love how she says, I'm going to play it again, Jared, but I love how she says members of the family, because it really does seem like, and we know Jen Psaki goes on Twitter because she's mentioned conservative Twitter before, but she must see all these crazy Trump deranged Biden supporters who fawn over Biden and his dogs. So she has to throw that in, members of their family. Let's play that one more time.
On a different note, can you clarify for us what happened with the president's dogs? There's some reports that one of them was involved in a biting incident. Can you clarify exactly what happened?
Sure. Champion Major, the president and first lady's dogs, members of the family, are still getting acclimated.
Joe Biden can't remember the Secretary of Defense's name, but at least he considers his dogs members of his family. I hope you're all happy. No more mean tweets. Just dogs, dogs, dogs. We'll be back, guys.
If you're thinking about a new RV this year, I've got 2 words of advice for you. Buy early. This is Howie Carr. With the popularity of camping growing and manufacturers' constraints, the earlier you shop, the better. Our friends at Cold Springs RV are ready for you. They have an indoor heated showroom and heated units outside for winter browsing. They are also ready to sell your current RV on consignment. Learn more at coldspringsrv.com or visit Cold Springs RV in Ware, New Hampshire.
Alexander Hamilton said, "Those who stand for nothing will fall for anything." This is Toby from Cape Gunworks. When our founding fathers drafted the Second Amendment, there was no question of its meaning. Today, if you have questions, come to Cape Gunworks for some advice, training, or to send a few rounds downrange. We have a fully stocked pro shop with a huge selection of guns, crossbows, archery, classes, rentals, a 15-lane range, and a friendly staff. Come on down to Cape Gunworks, Airport Road, Hyannis, or capegunworks.com.
What deal can we have, Crazy Nancy?
The Constitution does not say that a person can shout wolf in a crowded theater.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. Chocolate candy, chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here. Consistently practice social distancing.
Why does AOC complain that you have not been grooming younger people for leadership?
I don't know. You'll have to ask her.
That was kind of sharp.
I'm not a big needle taker. I mean, I had a hard time getting my ears pierced. I'm not a big needle taker. I mean, Mother Earth is angry. She's telling us.
What do you think is causing this erratic behavior?
I think that the president has always had erratic behavior. I have ice cream in my freezer. I guess that's better than having Lysol in somebody's lungs. Civilization as we know it is at stake. I don't drink, but I'm happy to have ice cream with anybody anytime.
Everyone knows I love coffee and I'm not giving it up. I know that it would keep me up from time to time, but no longer with Balance 7. Balance 7 is a clear mineral liquid that you take 3 times a day to break down the acid in your body. When it does this, you'll feel better, and I sleep better. Often I'm asked to try products, and I could be very skeptical on their claims. But with Balance 7, it was all 100% true. With Balance 7, I didn't feel my energy starting to flag as the day wore on, because by sleeping better at night, it also gave me mental clarity during the day. Balance 7 is a highly alkalizing concentrate. That means it reduces the acids that have built up in your body. Balance 7 is also known for reducing acid reflux and heartburn as it did for the mailroom manager. Balance 7 is made of safe, all-natural ingredients. If you suffer from heartburn, acid reflux, or sleep issues, you should give Balance 7 a try. Order the 8-ounce 12-pack supply at balance7.com. Put in code word Howie. You will save $10 and you'll also get free shipping. Balance7.com.
It's story time with Grace Curley. What do you think was the funniest moment of the Howie Carr Show?
The funniest moment of the Howie Carr Show for me was when we were doing the death pool and someone called up and Howie said, "You're next on the Howie Carr Show. Who do you want for the death pool?" And the person said, "Howie Carr." And Howie said, "Yep, that's me. Okay, who do you want for the death pool?" And the person said, "Howie Carr." And Howie again said, "That's my name." And I was just back here crying, laughing in the green room, just realizing that this person was trying to put Howie in the death pool, and he just didn't understand it was happening. And then finally, when he figured it out, he said, "That plays, put it on the list." And it was just, I don't know, I still think about that sometimes.
Catch all of Grace Curley's stories weekdays right before Howie from 12 to 3 on The Grace Curley Show. And follow Grace on Twitter at G_Curley.
We are now, effective today, requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations in the following sectors: restaurants, wineries, tasting rooms. A few weeks ago, I was asked to go to a friend's 50th birthday. I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up.
Stay at home as much as possible. Put those social gatherings on hold, including extra care for Thanksgiving.
Denver's mayor told you to stay home for Thanksgiving, then he got on a flight to go see family out of state.
Some people calling Supervisor Kuehl a hypocrite. Now, on November 24th, she voted to ban outdoor dining, and on the very same day, she was spotted eating out.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of a neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years. As it turns out, it was a setup. So I take responsibility for falling for a setup. This salon owes me an apology.
What they do.
Live from the Aviva Trattoria studio.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Grace Curley Show. We have more Jen Psaki sound, but first, I have something I want to discuss here. You'll remember yesterday, I think it actually happened on Friday, but we reported it yesterday, that Fredo Cuomo made a comment that kind of upset some of the progressives on Twitter. And just in general, people were talking about it. He said that he was black on the inside, and that's why he knew the theme song to the show. I believe it's called Good Times. So let's play the original cut, and then I just have this issue. I have a bone to pick with CNN and specifically Don Lemon. So the flashback is cut 13.
Just looking out of the window, watching the asphalt grow, thinking how it all looks hand-me-down.
How do you know the words to Good Times?
You know I'm black on the inside.
Now, Don Lemon is the expert on, what people are allowed to say, who's racist, who's not. And don't forget, he's very trustworthy with the news. He was Jussie Smollett's biggest supporter during the fake hate crime that took over the nation. And this is what Don Lemon said about the royal interview where Meghan Markle accused the royal family of being racist. I want to play both cuts. Cut 3 first.
Brianna, also, when people say, well, we haven't heard from the other side. What's the other side going to say? They're going to say, of course, we're not racist or whatever. But what did they do? Think about their actions. They did not stand up for their own because their own was married to a black woman, had a black child. They didn't listen to him inside of the royal family. They let him go. They let him leave the country. They wouldn't come to terms with what they wanted to do. So, listen, we've only heard from one side, but that one side at this point rings very true.
So the royal family should not be able to defend themselves or, we shouldn't take anything with a grain of salt because the royal family side does not matter. You would think that, he talks so tough when he's talking about the Queen. And I was kind of thinking that maybe after the backlash, he would say something to Chris Cuomo about his problematic comments. And I guess he did. Let's play cut 9.
And by the way, let me just say something about Friday. Do you mind if I talk about that?
No, I'm sure people will love it. No. In truth, leave it alone. Let's stick with what the positive is.
All right, if you want to just...
Stick with the positive. We don't need to cause problems that don't exist. We have enough that do exist.
I thought it was much ado about nothing.
Listen.
And I think this... Look, I know you don't want to talk about it. This is why this is the reason I wrote the book. This is why you have conversations with people who don't look like you so that you can have a degree of comfort with them to be able to discuss these things and their intentions. So, as I always say, and I've said to you since I've met you, and you know that, if you don't have a friend who doesn't look like you, you're not doing it right.
I hear you. Look, I got a lot of black friends, but none like you. You're one of one in my book.
I'm just confused here. I'm confused. So someone gets a pass about saying something problematic if Don Lemon knows your intentions. So from now on, if there's ever a situation where people are upset by something or they think something is racially insensitive, they can just bring this to Don Lemon and he can make the judgment. He can decide what your intention is. He clearly knows the intention of the Queen or the entire royal family. He can read their minds. Just like he can read Fredo Cuomo's mind. If only he could read Andrew Cuomo's mind. So many questions would be answered. It's really amazing. Really amazing the power of Don Lemon, as Howie likes to call him. All right, and now let's play a few more of these Jen Psaki cuts. And then, Jared, I think you have a little short producer's picks for us. But first, let's get through these Psakis. Go ahead, just throw one at me.
You heard all about dogs. We were promised a White House cat. What happened to that?
Where is the cat? Today's a good day for the cat. I don't have any update on the cat. We know the cat will break the internet, but I don't have any update on its status.
Even the cat, even a question about the cat is too much. There's some questions you think are going to be home runs, And the cat will break the internet. I don't want to harp too much on the dog situation, but I will say that dog Major got an inauguration. We deserve some answers. More than just there was an incident and someone got bit. There was an inauguration. We, the people, watched this dog get inaugurated. And now we need some answers for this. Then again, he's just going based off his owner and just hiding out, which I don't blame him for. All right, next cut, Jared.
We're not trying to close our borders. We are trying to create an effective, moral, humane system. It's going to take some time to do that. Even these unaccompanied children who come across the border, who we've talked about, we want to keep safe. We want to ensure they are in shelters where there is access to educational services, legal services, health services. We want to ensure that they are then quickly moved to vetted families or sponsor homes. Many of them don't stay because they go through the process of having their applications reviewed. We just want to keep them safe because they are kids under the age of 18.
You know what all of this reminds me of? All of this semantics and, the whole reason they have a crisis was because they were so humane and moral and they wanted to bring everyone in and they wanted to welcome everyone. I always think of the scene from A Few Good Men where he says, you want me on that wall, you need me on that wall. And he says something like, you don't talk about this at your cocktail parties. And that's the truth, is that there's this whole class of people that can afford to be so generous and so kind and so morally superior. And it's only because a few brave, a lot of brave men and women do the hard stuff. A lot of cops go into the tough cities and they put their backs against the wall so that people like Jen Psaki and Joe Biden and Dr. Jill and Ben Rhodes and Barack Obama and Kristen Gillibrand and Pete Buttigieg, so they can all hang out and talk about how evil everybody is and how not everybody's as nice as them. Not everybody cares as much as them. But at the end of the day, there's got to be rules. It might make you feel better to say, I want everybody here. I don't want any rules. I don't want anybody left out. But that's not how the world works. And it's nice that you guys have so much security and so much money that you don't have to figure out how the world works. But the rest of us have to kind of figure it out. And the people who are doing all of these things, that the police, ICE, our soldiers, our military, they don't have even it's the bare minimum you could give them is just, to back them and to support them. And that's what they don't get. It's limousine liberals. It makes them feel good. It eases their white guilt to say, we're more humane. And look where it's got you. You're so humane. You're so wonderful. And now you've got a full-blown bleep storm on your hands. Anyway, Jared, that was my rant of the day. We got to have a sound cut for when there's a rant, but I didn't expect it. It's the surprise rant of the day. All right, Jared, producer's picks, lay 'em on me.
And now, the feature so many of our listeners wait for each day. Producer's Picks.
So we're going to lead off producer's picks. We just have one more cut from everyone's favorite. Let's see. What's the term I'm looking for? Flame-headed press secretary?
Oh,
fire-headed? What is redhead? Like, what's the... Like raven-haired if it's dark. I don't know what red... Auburn-locked. There we go.
Sure.
You're everyone's favorite Auburn-locked press secretary. And this is all about civility and a return to unity and,
normal.
The soul of the country.
Well, we are doing everything in our power to expedite the payments and not delay them, which is why the president's name will not appear on the memo line of this round of stimulus checks. The checks will be signed by a career official at the Bureau of Fiscal Service. This is not about him.
Oh, that Trump.
The passive aggressiveness of this administration, it's like an ex who just can't get over it.
It is astounding. Astounding.
And they go out to dinner or something and you're talking about something totally different and they always manage to weave in the ex-boyfriend or the ex-girlfriend. Like, I'm going to order chicken because you remember the last time when I was with you-know-who and she wouldn't let me order what I wanted because, she was such a pain in the butt. It's like, why do we always have to go back to Trump? Like, why? I thought you guys were chartering a new path forward.
It's unbelievable.
Really is. It's astounding. You said it well, Jared.
News of the scumbaggery. Good news, actually, this time. Publisher stops promotion of Andrew Cuomo's COVID leadership book amid nursing home and sexual misconduct scandals.
After a whopping 45,000 copies flew off the shelf.
A representative for the book's publisher, the Crown Publishing Group, told the New York Times it had no plans to promote or reprint Cuomo's book due to the ongoing scandals, primarily his administration's cover-up of nursing home deaths. And it's come out today that it wasn't just nursing homes, but facilities that handled special needs or
I saw that.
Alternative needs. He sent them off to die too. So
okay, well, first of all, it was Trump's fault.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. Donald Trump made Andrew Cuomo put policies in place that killed people. I apologize.
Jared, we don't want to play the blame game.
Exactly.
Okay?
There's no need for
it's a political football. We don't want to play the blame game. And don't make me send my brother Fredo after you, okay? Thank you.
So, Fredo won't throw me down the stairs, hopefully, after that. But yes, Crown Publishing will not be reprinting or making any more copies of Andrew Cuomo's book.
Yeah, I understand that. They have buyer's remorse that they bought the rights to that piece of junk.
Absolutely. If you were planning on going to the Tokyo Olympics this summer, and I don't know anyone who was, bad news, out-of-country spectators will not be allowed to go to the Olympics this summer.
Are you an Olympics guy? Like, do you watch it when it's on?
I like Olympic hockey, and that's about it.
Yeah, I like Olympic hockey, too.
That's kind of, but I don't really follow. Yeah.
I like the figure skating. Is that what it's still called?
Yep, figure skating.
I like the gymnastics. I think that's pretty cool. I think that those are some of the most athletic people in the world are gymnasts because the stuff they can do walking on a beam is insane.
And speed skating's okay. If that's on, I'll kind of watch that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
To a degree.
I sometimes like when it's on at like a bar or something. Like if you're watching, what's that called? A luge?
Yeah.
And you see it, and it's like you don't have to watch it, but you can kind of have it on. It makes it a little more festive.
Definitely more a Winter Olympics guy than a Summer Olympics guy. If I had to pick. Track and field just doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, no, me either.
The basketball, whatever.
I like, I do like to watch the swimming sometimes. That can be kind of exciting. But I always wonder, like, when they jump off the platforms, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more where they figure out that people jumped before the buzzer. That would be my problem. You know, I would go, I have that, and then I would jump off too fast. But that's neither here nor there. I don't think I'm going to be in the Olympics in Tokyo, so that's okay.
On this day, 1959, the Barbie doll makes its debut at the New York City Toy Fair. So entire generations of girls were given things to aspire to and then given things to be shamed about and then given things that are now unrealistic expectations and sexist and terrible and gender morphic or whatever words are. So, but anyway, the Barbie doll, a large part of American culture, introduced this day, 1959.
I was a Barbie girl. I was Barbie. I was American Girl doll. I loved all that stuff. And I loved the little fake kitchen you had when you were little and you could pretend to be cooking stuff up. Yeah, all that stuff. The Biden administration's policies and executive orders are already causing some economic disturbance. Tax laws are going to change. Your tax burden on selling real estate will grow. Don't get caught flat-footed and squander the equity in your real estate built up over years or decades. Sell today with J.J. Manning. For over 40 years, J.J. Manning has been the leading auction house in New England. From high-end homes to estates to commercial properties throughout New England, J.J. Manning can get your property sold fast and contingency-free. There is a big reason why Mass Lawyers Weekly voted J.J. Manning #1 for 4 consecutive years in a row because they have a huge following of bidders who pay cash. When you sell with a broker, you pay the commission, but in an auction, the buyer pays. These are treacherous times in the real estate market. So some sectors are at all-time highs, others are losing ground. Don't wait until Joe Biden destroys this sector of the economy before you cash out. To learn more on how to get your property sold fast, contact Charlie Gill at jjmanning.com. With over 16,000 sales and satisfied clients, you can be the next one. Call them today at 1-800-521-0111. That's 1-800-521-0111. Or go to jjmanning.com and get your property sold. We'll be back with a car crossover. This is The Grace Curley Show.
The Grace Curley Show will be right back.
Here's 1 minute of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
There's a lot of restaurants that are feeling the pain of racism, where people are literally not patroning Chinese restaurants. They're not patroning Asian restaurants because of just straight up racism around the coronavirus. So,
only in America does when the president tweets about liberation, does he mean go back to work? When we, have this discussion about going back or reopening, I think a lot of people should just say, no, we're not going back to that.
I know it sounds banal. Do we know how long puppies are allowed to stay with their mothers after a dog has given birth?
I don't.
8 weeks. Wow. So the market has decided that women and people who give birth deserve less time with their children than a dog.
So the whole premise of the Green New Deal is that we're screwed.
You guys have heard me talk about Super Beets for a while, and I'm sure some of you are still thinking, Grace, why Super Beets? You can take it from me. The benefits of Super Beets are incredible. I feel so much better right when I take one. I feel energized and ready to take on the day. And in the afternoon when I start to hit a slump, boom, I take a Super Beet and I'm refreshed and ready to go. If that doesn't convince you, can we talk about the science behind Super Beets? Beets have nitrates. Nitrates support better blood flow, and better blood flow equals better energy and efficiency throughout the body and supports healthy blood pressure. And the science team behind Super Beets has conducted 11 clinical trials and was even given the Science Award by the Nutrition Business Journal. Go to www.superbeetsradio.com to find out more about Super Beets. Also, did I mention they taste really good too? That's www.superbeetsradio.com. www.superbeetsradio.com.
Now's the perfect time to get a pair of premium wireless earbuds, and Raycon is the way to go. Raycon start at about half the price of other premium brands on the market, and they sound just as amazing. And Raycon's everyday E25 earbuds are their best model yet. You get 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a more compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. Perfect for conference calls, video chats, or binging podcasts. Raycon was founded by Ray J, and celebrities like Cardi B and J.R. Smith have already given Raycons their seal of approval. I love my Raycons, and Grace loves hers, too.
Howie, I love my Raycons. Best birthday gift ever.
I listen to much better music than she does, though.
Hey, that's not true.
Now it's your turn to see what the hype is all about. Go to buyraycon.com/Howie. That's buyraycon.com/Howie. buyraycon.com/Howie.
This is the Grace Curley Show.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Grace Curley Show. It is your favorite time of the day. It's time for the car crossover, and it's brought to you by McConnell's Irish Whiskey. You'll know when you take your first sip, some things are worth the wait. Also, McConnell's Whiskey is sponsoring our studio VIP visits once Howie gets back. The first visit will be Tuesday, May 4th. You can enter for a chance to win a free VIP visit. Just go to howiecarrshow.com, click on the McConnell Whiskey banner. And guys, just FYI, this is a great deal. You get the VIP experience. You get a delicious spread of food. You also get a bunch of books from Howie. And then, just to really put the top of the morning to you, you get the Irish whiskey gift basket from McConnell's. This is valued at over $400. Just go to howiecarrshow.com and click on that banner. Speak of the Irish, I'm talking to Howie Carr right now. Mr. Carr, what's going on?
Saints preserve us. Try that McConnell's Irish whiskey. Change your luck this year. Don't go with the usual stuff for St. Patrick's Day. Try McConnell's.
All right, now, Howie, to switch gears to a new set of malarkey here. I don't know if you saw this, because I'm getting this later in the show. I'm starting to realize in the Biden administration, Howie, you are getting the best timing, because Psaki does these press conferences right around 2, and you can just roll right into it. And there's a cut that is not from Psaki. It's actually from Joe Biden. He was in D.C. for Small Business Day. He was at some store, some hardware store, and he used his go-to joke, Howie. Did you hear this?
No.
What does he usually say when he sees someone high up in the rafters?
I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
All right.
What does he say?
Let's play it, Jared. He dropped the old "don't jump, don't jump."
Oh, okay.
You're not going to be able to see it from here, but if they want to give a wave, I see him. Yeah. And then we also have don't jump. We need you.
Don't jump. We need you. He loves that joke.
I'm reminded of another old St. Patrick's month jokes. Billy Bulger used to say of Ed Markey, to a battle of wits, he comes unarmed. And I think that really applies to Joe Biden these days, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Hey, Howie, since I have you here, I want your take on this. The big COVID relief bill, there's a news story out today that $86 billion is going to be used towards taxpayer bailout for about 185 union pension plans that are close to collapse. How do you feel about that, Howie?
Well, the problem with that is that it's going to be used as the excuse for bailing out all these state pension funds, which is probably going to be trillions of dollars. So the $86 billion is just paving the way. How about the fact that the inmates are going to get payoffs? I just finished writing my column about this guy that I used to work with down at their Cape radio station. I didn't work with him, but he was the program director.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the federal lockup in Central Falls, Rhode Island, for stealing $438,000 in PPP, Paycheck Protection Plan money. So he's locked up for stealing from a COVID relief fund. And now they've just set up a new COVID relief fund, and they're going to send him a check for $1,400 while he's in jail for stealing $438,000.
It's a circle. It's a you know what, Howie? It's the circle of life.
It is the circle. I'm just wondering if the Bulgers, are they going to sue? Are they going to sue to get Whitey's check posthumously because he died by misadventure by the Bureau of Prisons?
These are all the questions that you guys will have answered in the next show. Don't go anywhere. Captain Carr's coming at you live at 3.
It's a new year and time for a new you. DiStefano Hair Restoration changed my life, and they can change yours too. My production director said when he saw a recent pic of me that, "You look great, like Benjamin Button. You're getting younger." That's quite the compliment, and I owe it to DiStefano Hair Restoration and Dr. Chris Hines. Many wait years before they get the hair restoration they deserve. Stop waiting and just get it done. You won't regret it, and you'll ask yourself, why did you wait so long? You can see my before and after photo shoot on their site at hairman.com. Hairman.com. DiStefano Hair Restoration is taking all the necessary precautions to keep you safe during your visit. They also offer virtual consultations. Go to hairman.com today and schedule